Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, brought to you in part by Mint Mobile, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Sitting right here, of course, still basking in the glow of that Seahawks victory, one Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today?
John, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. It's been a great week so far. I look forward to the Thursday and Friday.
It's going to be a good, big couple of days, actually. Big couple of days. Anyway, sitting right beside him, of course, it's Thursday. That means Amy Newman is here, everybody. Amy, how you doing?
Good. Happy to be here.
It's good to have you here. And, of course, sitting back there, joining you guys in the live chat, he's awake. It's Ray Ora.
There's been progress made yesterday.
More Morbius? Where are you getting up to now?
I've made it to the part where he starts slashing those fools in that dark building where he first
like
changes.
the underground lab part?
Yeah, so maybe
you've actually
by the
gotten
end
a
of
good
the
amount
month,
into it.
I will have my review of Morbius. Everyone who's waiting for it.
The world
Stay
is waiting.
tuned, baby.
From bated breath. And, of course, sitting beside him, running the show today, producer Jonathan Voico. Jonathan, how you doing?
It's a good day. I didn't watch Morbius, so no complaints.
So my day's better than Ray's. And of course, it's an especially great day because you guys are here joining us. So thank you so much for making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you'd like to get a live comment or question on the show, here's the stuff. Number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to the end of the main topics, we'll announce that we're opening up the super chats. That will be your cue to fire in your thoughts, theories, questions, observations, whatever, and we will read those off in the second half of the show. Please, if you can, try to avoid multi-part questions, but if you must, you must. Okay. Also, a little bit of housekeeping here, guys. I'll let you guys know about this. Now, today is Thursday. It's one of those mornings. Today is Thursday, which means normally at 3 p.m. today, we would be doing our She-Hulk after show. However, audible being called here at the line of scrimmage.
Uh-oh.
At Sports Ball. There's really not a lot to talk about. There's one or two things in it, but I just don't know. By the way, I didn't mind last night's episode.
I liked it.
I enjoyed it, but there really isn't much to talk about.
It was
Definitely
6
one
minutes
where
long.
definitely one where the week to week feels a bit like that's a whole nother week for okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about She-Hulk in this episode today, but there really isn't a lot to talk about in about the episode. So, in lieu of a She-Hulk episode, today at 3 p.m., we will be doing open mic. So come on back at 3 o'clock today. If you weren't able to watch the show live earlier in the day, come back and watch us live at 3 o'clock where we'll be doing open mic, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit of She-Hulk in that as well. Okay, guys. Before we get into our topics here, I need to address something and let you guys know about something that's been going on, and I just need to let you guys know what it is. Okay. So some of you will probably have noticed that about an hour before the show starts today, we changed the thumbnail of the episode today from talking about Andor to talking about a new story that broke out this morning about Blade Runner, which we will get to just a little while. Now, that decision was made on purpose, and I'm going to explain why. Let's talk about embargoes here for a second. Just so everybody's clear, we're on the same page about what an embargo is and who is not under embargo.
That's like when Master Blaster turned off the gas in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and said, "Embargo on."
I thought when you said Master Blaster, I thought you were talking about the Transformer that was like Soundwave, but he was an Autobot.
Oh no.
Oh, see, I was more interested in that part of the conversation. Anyway,
Okay. Sad.
So here's how an embargo works. An embargo, at least it can have a lot of different things with a lot of different industries, but for our purposes in our particular industry, an embargo is simply this. A studio invites you to watch one of their projects, and in exchange for them inviting you to come and watch one of their projects, they request, there's an implied agreement that you will hold off talking about that request or about that project until a certain date, right? That's basically, so when you hear people talking about embargoes, that's what the embargo is. The studio says, hey, since we're going to let you watch this early, and we are going to invite you to be somebody who participates in this early, the tit for tat, if you will, is that you not talk about it until a certain date. And there is sometimes an explicit, oftentimes an implicit, but there's always an agreement there. You are basically giving your word that, yeah, if you allow me to watch this, I will not talk about it until a certain date. Now, some of you may then have noticed that last night on Twitter, I had mentioned that I had seen the first couple of episodes of Andor. And some people asked me, well, wait a minute, I thought the embargo lifted the next day. Here's the thing. I was not under embargo. The reason I was not under embargo is because the studio never invited me to watch it. I was not a part of any agreement because I was not part of that. Now, to back that up a little bit, I will let you guys know. My staff knows this. Rob knows this. Jonathan knows this. Ray knows. They've known this for a while. Some time ago, and I'm not going to go into the reasons why. Some time ago, I wrote to Disney and I requested that I be taken off their media list. I simply don't need it. But some time ago, I'd written to them and asked to be taken off their media list. So anyway, fast forward to now, I was contacted yesterday and invited by someone to go and check out Andor. So I had a chance to watch Andor, and seeing as I was not a part of any embargo list, I was not invited by the studio to watch it, I was not under embargo, I decided to tweet my reactions to it, which I perfectly legit for me to do. And so today's show, we were going to talk about my first reactions to the first couple of episodes of Andor. So what happened this morning was I got contacted by somebody at Disney, and we basically had a conversation about it. And what was basically communicated to me was that, hey, listen, I was not under embargo and they know that, but apparently a lot of people got very upset by the fact that somebody who wasn't under embargo got to put out their reactions before everybody else did, which it was, again, it was completely legitimate for me to do that. And it was causing a lot of headache and grief for some people, particularly somebody that I know. It was causing a lot of headache and grief for somebody. And they just simply asked me to take it down. And to which I said no. And to which I said no. And then after talking to my wife, Anne, about it, Anne said, my wife, who is far more level-headed and a wiser woman than I, Anne said, you know what, maybe you should just take it down. It's the embargo lifts in like 8 hours. So who cares? Just take it down. Like you don't have to work with these things again, but just for now to be nice. So because these people are getting a hard time getting grief. So after I said, no, I won't take it down, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to take it down. And again, I feel like I owe you guys that explanation because you guys saw that that was going to be our main topic today and we were going to discuss it. And I was looking forward to discussing it. But I made a decision and I made a call. So that's why the change had happened. So we will not be, despite the fact that I had advertised earlier that we're going to be talking about Andor today, we are not going to. And that instead will be something that we get to talk about tomorrow. Maybe I'll do an After Dark tonight. Maybe I'll do a John Campea After Dark tonight. We can discuss it then because I do have a lot of things I want to say about Andor, but maybe that'll come just a little bit later. All right, guys, with that said, down and out of the way, let's move on now to our topics here. We're going to start with a couple of off the tops. And our first off the top is this: drama. Corporate, high stakes corporate drama is afoot, Rob. It is afoot. Here's what's going on. So basically, you guys know that ever since Disney took over and bought Fox, they have become the majority owners of Hulu. There's a misconception out there that they are the straight out owners. They are actually not. They own 66% of Hulu. The other 33% and change is owned by Universal Comcast. But Disney is the controlling owner. They are the controlling interest, so they have all the say of what happens in it, but Universal does own 1/3 of it. So, Bob Chapek has announced that they are you guys have probably seen in the news that Bob Chapek has announced that they are looking to, the plan is, and the roadmap is just to merge Hulu into Disney Plus, which is no surprise. We've all seen it coming in a lot of other countries around the world where Hulu doesn't even exist. They just have Hulu's content on a version of Disney Plus, whichever territory you live in. So it's really not surprising that they were going to do it in the US. And quite frankly, while I personally do see the advantages of having Hulu separate from Disney Plus, I actually think it's probably a pretty good move on their part to merge it in. So with him doing all that, Universal Comcast boss decided to throw a wrench into things. And bring this up here, Jonathan. And he's basically said, well, you know what? Maybe we're interested in buying it. Maybe we're interested in buying it. I'm just going to read a little bit here. And it says this, this is from Variety, writes, Disney currently owns 66% of Hulu and Comcast holds the remaining 33% stake. As of July 2nd, 2022, Disney recorded Comcast's interest in Hulu as being worth $8.6 billion. So Disney is saying what the overall value of Hulu, Comcast's share is worth about $8.6 billion, implying an overall evaluation of $25.8 billion. In an auction-style In an auction-style sale of Hulu in its entirety, Roberts, that's the Comcast boss, suggests that Hulu may fetch much more than that, and says straight out, "Hey, if Disney's willing to sell, we're a buyer. We'll buy out Hulu. We think Hulu is worth a lot more." Okay. There's a couple of very fascinating things here going on. Let me talk about the most sneaky. Here's potentially the most sneaky. Because I honestly think, even though I have no proof to back this up, this is honestly what I think here. If you guys look back to when Disney bought Fox, you remember what Disney bought Fox for? $72 billion.
No thanks to Comcast.
Do you know what they originally announced they were buying Fox for? It was around 40. So if you guys remember, years ago, Disney announced, we have agreed to buy Fox for, I think the number was around 40 million bucks. Okay, we're going to buy Fox, yay. And all of a sudden, Universal Comcast comes in and says, wait a minute, time out. We're interested. We think we might like to own Fox. How about we throw out an offer? And according to the rules, we are allowed to submit an offer. And so they put in an offer for something in the neighborhood of high 50s billions of dollars, right? And ultimately what happened is Big Papa Iger, Bob Iger and the board of Disney had to ultimately buy Fox for about $30 billion more than they originally wanted to. And I said at the time, I don't think Universal Comcast ever intended on buying. I don't think Universal Comcast ever intended on buying Fox. I said this way back then. I said, I think they just wanted to try to stick it to Disney and make Disney pay a hell of a lot more money than they need to. And I'll tell you what, right now, I don't think Universal Comcast has any interest in owning Hulu. They're looking at it and seeing, they say our share of Hulu's worth $8.6 billion. Well, why don't we get out there and make people think it's worth a hell of a lot more? You know what? Maybe we're interested in buying. Which in turn is going to force Disney to up their valuation of Hulu. Because Universal Comcast can say to Disney, hey, you say it's only worth $24 billion. Okay, fine, we'll give you $24 billion. Which Disney's going to have to say, well, no, we don't want to accept $24 billion. Oh, so you're saying it's worth more. Well, maybe instead of giving us $8.6 billion, maybe you give us $20 billion. I mean, and what's that, Ray?
It's that one eBay bidder we all
yes!
hate.
That's
You
what
think
Universal
you're getting
is.
this action figure that costs like $200, and for $50, it says 14 minutes left, and then all of a sudden, here comes this
you
guy.
know what? That might be me.
Here comes this guy.
In the last 60 seconds. I'm sorry, guys.
To the point where you actually think it's the person who put the item up for sale because they're bidding it
And
so
they're
high.
artificially
and you
boosting
never
the
got
price.
it. So those dreams are shattered. You wait for the next auction and you never get it. That's what happened.
I'm on that one too. I'm sorry.
Raise dreams on eBay right now. So here's the thing too. This is the other interesting part about this. We are seeing a landscape now that is changing so quickly and shrinking because we are losing streaming services now. Showtime is getting swallowed up by Paramount. What was the other one? I was just talking about another one. So another one just got swallowed up a little while ago. Now we're looking at Hulu is either going to get swallowed up by Peacock or by Disney. It's happening more and more now. These smaller streaming services are now getting enveloped into the larger one, and they're disappearing. Anyway, Rob, there's so many moving, interesting pieces here. Boardroom shenanigans and like eBay dream breaking and all this kind of stuff. What stands out to you in this story?
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, in this case, by Universal making that offer, they're going to directly benefit because they're going to have to be bought out.
Yeah.
And they're going to make more money. You know, that to me is business 101. You know, say we think it's worth more. I mean, $1 billion, it could be worth, they might make, like you said, 10 billion more.
Let me ask you this.
That's a lot of money.
Which Ferengi rules of acquisition is it that says sell as high as possible?
Oh,
it's got to be one of the rules of acquisition,
I
right?
could not quote. I mean, I'd have to go a little deep. I'd have to look, but I'd go back to Sun Tzu's Art of War on this one. You know, like Buddy Boy. I keep thinking Gordon Gekko.
Oh, yeah.
A little, you know, because, but by the way, that's shrewd business. You know, and I think that unfortunately, that's the world we live in. If you do good business, and this is doing good business, I love that all he had to do is go throw this out in the trades.
I say, yeah, no,
And
we
you're
might be interested in buying it.
I mean, it's good business. I mean, like I joked to you, maybe Disney can get the Hulk distribution rights back.
But again, I want. By the way, that could be an article in play here for Disney. But I just want to read this one part again, where the guy from Universal is saying, "Hey, we just think this is right out of the Variety article. In an auction-style sale of Hulu in its entirety, Hulu will fetch much more than the valuation of what Disney's saying." But don't laugh. I mean, you brought up off camera that maybe one of the pieces in play here is those distribution rights to Hulk. I mean, anything could be on the table.
You
Right,
scared
and-
me
and-
when you said he brought something up off camera. I'm like, oh God, what?
Well, also, I mean, here's another thing. There's a lot of NBC content that's on Hulu already. There could be licensing
But
agreements.
they have started to pull that off and put it back
Right,
onto
sure.
Peacock.
But there could be licensing agreements that they
Yep.
want immediately. I mean, who knows? There's so many different, like you said, moving parts to this. I mean, this is the world that we live in. This is corporate brinksmanship, and they're playing the game. You know.
Amy, you hear about the story. Out of all these moving pieces, what stands out to you in all this?
I mean, I think just the idea that Disney's going to want to expand and take something and won't seems kind of ridiculous in this
Yep.
day and age. So
Yep.
to me, that feels like the biggest sign that, yeah, this is probably playing a bit more of a long con than really going, we're going to buy this. Absolutely. We're very, very interested. Because, yeah, I think ultimately Disney's game right now is expanding. You know, they have seen success with Disney Plus. Why wouldn't they want to expand that
Yeah.
out to Hulu? So, yeah, I think it would be more likely to me that this is driving pricing up rather than really genuinely.
Thinking they could steal it out from under Disney?
When I love even just saying, like, you know, I think we'd be interested. I think a lot of people would be interested. It just
Yeah.
feels very like creating that buzz around
Yeah.
it.
And by the way, I think this might represent one of those. Listen, my hero, Big Papa Iger, he was not flawless. This might be one of his calculated mistakes because I personally think, and I think we might have talked about this when it was all going on, when they were buying out Fox, they should have taken care of the Hulu thing altogether. They should, because I think if they had just straight up bought out Universal Comcast's portion of Hulu back when they bought Fox, I bet you they could have got it for a lot cheaper, like a lot cheaper at that time. That might have been one of Iger's mistakes.
Well, and also you said that there is no Hulu internationally, so that
There's a number of markets where it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So you've got a lot of that Hulu content that's already on Disney. I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of labyrinthian rights issues or international issues that we don't even know about. But it's, didn't Disney just get the rights to cricket in India? They were negotiating for those
that's
rights.
right.
They just made a huge deal for that. I mean, there's so much. This is now, all of these streaming services are now global. And, if you made television shows, John, a lot of the way that these companies made a lot of money was they sold their TV rights into syndication around the world. You'd sell them to France, you'd sell them to Germany, you'd sell them to Australia. And these companies made huge amounts of money. That's why Aaron Spelling was one of the richest men in entertainment, because of all the shows he made, selling them internationally. All that's gone away. So the television business, and anybody who's worked in television, is making a whole lot less money than they used to, including the studios. So some of that could be at play here. Anyone wants to carve out as much money as they can You get what you can, while you can, when you can, as Jimmy Fallon said in Almost Famous.
And I think it's coming down to this. I think pretty soon, and when I say pretty soon, I don't mean within the next few weeks, but like over the next couple of years, I think we are going to have HBO Max, we're going to have Disney Plus, Amazon, Netflix, and Apple TV.
Yeah.
And probably Peacock.
And
Probably
Peacock.
because Comcast has a ton of money. But this Wild West of having like 20 different streaming services, I think is probably just going to go even up. Anyway, we spent a lot of time on this. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There's a lot of interesting angles to this whole story about, is Comcast just artificially trying to drive up the price to get more money out of it? Do they legitimately want to make a play to try to get Hulu from Disney? Is Disney just going to move ahead with their plans? What do you think about the existing landscape of the streaming universe with the smaller ones now starting to disappear? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to another off the top, and that is this. I am not particularly a huge fan of musical biopics. They all generally seem to be the same. To me, it's the same story that gets told over and over again.
Walk Hard kind of broke the formula for me. Like, I can't watch it without just being like, oh, this kind of just feels like.
Yeah, Walk Hard is totally a different one. And I think the Weird Al one is going to be very different too. But like when you look at like the good ones, like Walk the Line, or you look at Bohemian Rhapsody, or you look at Rocket Man, the basic story is all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Prodigy on the wrong side of the tracks, God-given gift, gets discovered, blows up, self-inflicted harm on themselves, and then later some kind of sweet redemption at the end. That's all those movies wrapped into one.
Yeah.
Except La Bamba.
Except for what?
La Bamba.
Except for La Bamba.
That was
Except for
tragedy.
I forgot about La Bamba.
Never forget.
Did you know Richie Valens is Filipino?
Yes.
Anyway, wild side note there.
Huh?
So anyway, there's a new one coming out that I must admit has caught my attention. And that's the Whitney Houston biopic,
Yeah.
I Want to Dance with Somebody. Here's the interesting thing about Whitney Houston. In an industry where the biggest stars are not necessarily always the most talented. Like, U2 is my favorite band in the world. Bono is not the best vocalist in the world. I love Maroon 5. Is that the name of the band? Adam Levine's band.
Mm-hmm.
I like them a lot. I like Adam Levine a lot. I like his music. He's not the best vocalist in the world. And you can go down that a lot with a lot of performers. Adele, different. But Whitney Houston was legit one of the best vocalists in the history of the industry. She was the star, and she actually had that global talent, that generational talent that would go along with it as well. And of course, we all know the tragic ending to her story. By the way, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen was actually, Why Am I Freezing on Pa Kent's, Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner doing the eulogy at her service was like unbelievably beautiful.
Because he was her bodyguard.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
Why does he do all the it wasn't a eulogy, but he did like a farewell to Vin Scully, and it was like tear jerking. I was like, what the heck?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's real good at that. That Kevin Costner. It's, you are my son. I
You
mean,
want to have a
Should
catch?
just do it for hire now.
yeah. So, I mean, the trailer for I Want to Dance with Somebody has just come out. And I got to tell you, the job of a trailer is to take your interest level and bump it up.
Mm-hmm.
This did it for me. I'm watching this and I'm like, yeah, I really do want to see this. And that's coming from somebody who's not really big on musical biopics. Anyway, Amy, you had a chance to watch this. I Want to Dance with Somebody. What did you think of it?
I mean, that casting.
So good.
And I feel like fully at the end of the day, there are exceptions to the rule, but like you're saying, biopics can feel a little formulaic. I think some of them, like Rocket Man, like Elvis, can find some unique flair in there. But ultimately, I feel like so much of what we talk about when we talk about the success of a really famous musical artist biopic is how good was that casting?
Yeah.
How much did they nail whatever that essence of that performer
Rami
was?
Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, oh my God.
Val Kilmer, Jim Morrison.
Val Kilmer's Jim Morrison. The Elvis one just.
I thought Austin Butler did a great job. I have my notes about Bohemian Rhapsody, but that's
Fair
a different
enough.
conversation. But here's the thing: this movie does not look like it breaks any new ground in the genre of the biopic. But my God, this actress looks good.
Yeah.
Just that voice when it comes out of her. You go, yep, that's the voice. You
But I don't
see her
think
on,
she's doing the
Is it
singing.
not? Did they?
I think that was Whitney's.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Was it
sure that
all?
was Whitney's
I'm
voice.
almost certain.
Okay.
I can be corrected.
But
I can be
she's
corrected, but I'm-
embodying it in a way
She
where
really
you
is,
do
yeah.
almost for a half second go, that's the actress. That's not her. And to me, that is immediately why I'm going, okay, I have some interest in this movie.
Rob, you saw. What did you think?
I mean, again, I echo your sentiments about musical biopics, but I like musical biopics, even though, like, I love musical documentaries. Like, I don't particularly love The Grateful Dead, but I remember when that documentary came out, I watched the whole thing all the way through.
That one on Eagles is great.
The Eagles documentary is great. So I've always liked musical biopics, and mostly it's because if you like a performer, I just like learning about them or getting insight, like who are their parents, and obviously it starts out with the relationship she has with her mother, and immediately that means something to me. And both the woman that plays her mother looks fantastic too. So I'm like, it was funny because before I knew you this was going to be a topic today, I always go online in the morning. My first thing, I make my coffee, I feed the dogs, then I look online specifically for trailers. And this popped up. It was the first thing that popped up. And I didn't even know, maybe I heard this movie was getting made. And the first thing that struck me was I'm like, oh my God, like this woman is perfectly cast as Whitney Houston. I mean, and I was riveted. And I'm like, look, she's a little too pop for me. Not my normal music, but I've always, she's an undeniable talent, but the movie looks really good.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think about the I Want to Dance with Somebody trailer? I'm not even a big musical biopic guy, and I'm kind of fascinated by this. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Okay, guys. Before we go any further here, let's take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's video, our friends at HelloFresh. Hey guys, we want to thank one of the sponsors of today's video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep and completely ready to prepare. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And guys, I know we are always looking for ways to save some money. In fact, HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout, and it's even more cheaper than going to the grocery store too. And HelloFresh isn't just for dinners. Shop HelloFresh Market for quick breakfasts, wholesome snacks, and even desserts. You'll find everything you need to satisfy your cravings without stepping a foot in the grocery store or mini-mart. Listen, I've told you guys before, Ann and I are both working professionals, so finding time to eat healthy and eat together is often challenging. But I'm telling you, these HelloFresh meal kits have made it easy to eat, a lot healthier, it's less expensive for us, and we have a blast. And there's nothing like feeling like a chef when you put the final product on the plate. So right now, go to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the promo code Campea16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the promo code Campea16. And thank you to our friends at HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode of The John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with that down, we've got, where's the music, Ray? We've got breaking, wow.
What the heck was that?
It started off good. We've got breaking news.
I guess that's appropriate, though, like a breaking bulletin combined with a want. That feels about right for this news.
That's true, because this news has a little bit of a want said on the end of it. All right, guys, this is just breaking now. It's coming out in the major trades. You guys will remember that back during that big, incredible Disney Investor Day call that was like better than any Comic-Con, I think, ever, was that Investor Day call was just completely the balls. Anyway, one of the things that they announced that got us really, really excited was Rogue Squadron. Patty Jenkins, who had come off of Wonder Woman, and of course she directed Charlize Theron to an Academy Award win and all that kind of stuff, and her family with fighter pilots, and they did that great little sketch where she's talking about doing Rogue Squadron, and actually a story about the fighter pilots. And then she walks onto a runway and there's a life-size to scale X-Wing fighter. One of the best announcements they could have made. It was done in an incredible way. But of course, then we heard delay, but it was still on the release calendar. Well, not anymore. According to the major trades now, it has been revealed that Disney has officially pulled Rogue Squadron off of its release calendar. Now, I'm just going to read this here verbatim. You guys are hearing a lot of this at the same time that we are. It says this: Disney has removed Rogue Squadron, the new Star Wars film from director Patty Jenkins, from its release calendar. The move comes as little surprise since the tentpole, which was scheduled for December 22nd, 2023, was taken off the studio's production schedule in 2021. The announcement is more or less pro forma, as the window for Rogue Squadron to start filming in time to make that release date had been closing, which is true. I mean, if they were going to make this movie be in theaters in December of 2023, this thing was going to have to start shooting damn soon, if not already well into production. So they have now officially pulled it off. There's no word in here about them putting it back on. Now, people have asked me over the last couple months, do I think that Rogue Squadron is just done? And I've said, you know what? I mean, it could be, but I got a feeling the idea is so good, it's probably just going to come when it's ready. I'm not so sure about that anymore. I mean, listen, we had D23 come and go. They made absolutely no mention of it or any Star Wars movies, for that matter. We've known about the problems with Rogue Squadron. Now it's been completely removed, and no word or mention about we're going to move this off to, or we're going to set a new time, TBD, or anything like that. It's just that it's removed. So, to be clear, there is nothing in the story that says this movie is now done. There's nothing in the story that says that. But I'm starting to believe that. Maybe it does come. I hope it does. But it's starting to look to me like this is one that's been thrown out on the trash pile. Unfortunately, and it's unfortunate, Rob, because this is one I had been looking forward to. I thought this one could have been pretty good, but maybe it just hadn't come together. Rob, you're now hearing that Rogue One has officially been pulled from the release calendar with no other dates. What do you think about it?
Well, I suspected this was going to happen, which is sort of unfortunate because you know how when one movie is really successful, other studios want to emulate that formula?
Yes.
You'd think after Top Gun Maverick's success that they would want to get
Space Top Gun.
Really get out
Space
Top Gun. Yes.
And the thing is, the Rogue Squadron novels were some of my favorite of the expanded universe Star Wars novels. That they were really, the first 3 or 4 of them were really, really good. And so I would think that what a natural, because after all, Top Gun Maverick was basically Star Wars. The whole end of the movie is the Death Star trench run with the difference of the target was just 1 meter bigger.
1 meter difference.
1 meter difference. And it's like, can't you? Well, I would have thought that they would have leaned into this because, hey, but apparently not. I mean, look, I think what happened and what happens so often, and I don't mean any disrespect, but with Wonder Woman 84 underperforming, both creatively and financially, you know, a director suddenly their position is never secure in terms of their next project. So I'm sure that then
You
they
think
get
that had something to do with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Because, you know, if Wonder Woman 84 was a huge success and everyone loved it creatively, then they'd be like, great, let's put it in production. But the fact that it kind of stalled out.
Would you rethink that if they do move forward and do Wonder Woman 3 with Patty Jenkins directing? Would you rethink that?
No, because they I think they could retool and all that, and it was the pandemic and all that, so Patty Jenkins did make the first Wonder Woman, but Patty Jenkins also didn't develop the first Wonder Woman. She replaced the director, so the major creative for Wonder Woman 1 was already done. Not to say that she didn't do a great job directing Gal Gadot in that role. She did. But she was very creatively involved in the development of Wonder Woman 84. And I don't know if she's necessarily the right director. I mean, you know, Joseph Kosinski, who directed Tron Legacy, has now done Oblivion and Top Gun Maverick. Who would you rather have directing a Rogue Squadron if you had to pick between the two of them?
I would rather have Patty Jenkins.
Really?
I don't think he did a very good job with Tron Legacy.
Well, he didn't. But
And
what
if
about
you
with
take-
Oblivion and what
But
about
Oblivion, I'm on record. I didn't think Oblivion was very good. And while I loved Top Gun, you take out the aerial stuff, I don't know that you're left with a very strong movie.
It's true.
Even though I'm on right. Everybody knows I had a really great time watching that movie, but it was 90% because of the aerials. And I just think when you go back to Monster and you look at the first Wonder Woman,
Sure.
I would still personally trust Patty Jenkins with this more personally. But I mean, that could have something to do with it.
And by the way, I'm not saying Joseph Kosinski was going to direct Rogue Squadron.
No.
I was using that comparing and contrasting The guy who directed Top Gun Maverick. But yeah, but I do
Wonder
think
Woman 84 was bad.
it was
There's
bad.
no getting around that.
Everything about
bad.
it was bad. It was, I mean, it was technically very proficient, well made. Gal Gadot was great as Wonder Woman, but the story, and they destroyed the character of Maxwell Lord as far as I'm concerned.
Anyway, Amy, you hear this. What do you think about? Do you think we're ever going to see Rogue Squadron back on the plate again?
I feel like it's going to be tough to come back from this. I do agree, because Wonder Woman 84 was the first thought in my head, too. So I would agree that I think that probably had something to do with it. Just her feeling a little on shaky ground after that. And then, I feel like Disney's really just trying to gear up to knock it out of the park with these TV releases right now. So if they get, if they continue with their momentum with Mandalorian and then Andor knocks it out of the park, maybe we get this back on the docket at some point, but I would be surprised.
Ray?
This movie has to be made eventually. I'm getting tired of Tatooine being in the sand. I think Star Wars needs to be somewhere closer to the stars. I mean, I've been wanting this. This is the movie that I would have gotten excited for. I wait for Star Wars stuff to come out. Like you guys, I don't get as excited. But this one, if you remember the N64, there's a Rogue Squadron game. And some of that stuff in there, I wanted to see on screen. I mean, just the flying stuff in The Mandalorian, the last season where he got a new ship. Imagine all the stuff they could do. Maybe even with new sorts of...
Well, the battle in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So I love that
The battle in Rogue
It's
One.
awesome.
This is really disappointing to hear.
Right.
I don't care who's directing it. This movie needs to be made.
Are you going to be surprised to find out that most of Andor takes place on Tatooine?
It's fine.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Not a tremendous surprise, but we've now heard it's official. Rogue Squadron has been pulled from its release window, and no other release information has been given, just that it's gone. Do you think it's ever going to see a big screen? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe with Patty Jenkins directing, maybe it comes to life without her and another director. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's now move into our newest segment here on the John Campea Show, which is, of course, our Mint Mobile Hotline Question of the Day. Of course, you guys can send in a question a lot of different ways, but one of the cool ways now, thanks to our friends at Mint Mobile, is you can actually call in a question on our hotline and leave a voice message for us, and maybe we'll select it for the show. And of course, our Mint Mobile hotline number is 951-268-4259. So, Jonathan, what's on our Mint Mobile hotline question today?
Flamio, John and crew, this is Chase from Austin, Texas. Do you guys think that with the amount of money and talent that Netflix is putting into this live-action Last Airbender series, that they're kind of banking on this being their version of a fantasy show that kind of catches the zeitgeist, kind of like Amazon's Lord of the Rings or HBO's Game of Thrones, to kind of compete with it? What do you guys think?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in. Listen, I'm actually very interested in this Netflix Last Airbender thing. Now, I was late to the party on the animated show. I didn't actually watch the animated show till the pandemic. Like a lot, I watched a lot during the pandemic, and I think a lot of people watched a lot during the pandemic. So I hadn't watched a lot. I hadn't watched it till the pandemic, and I watched it. I'm like, you know what? I get what everybody's talking about. Uncle Iroh, is it properly pronounced Iroh or Ero? I'll go with Iroh for now. Uncle Iroh is one of my favorite animated characters ever. I love that character so much. The last battle too between Fire Lord Ozai and Aang it's a really, really good show. And when Netflix announced that they were going to be doing a live action adaptation for it, I felt very positive about it because number one, M. Night's not associated with it.
Right.
Although M. Night's been turning it around lately, just going to say that. But other than HBO, nobody does series better than Netflix, other than HBO. HBO continues to be the gold standard, but right under them, I think, is Netflix. They have they have a terrible track record with their original movies, but they have a great track record with their original series. A couple of obvious exceptions to that, but still, they do a really good job. So I'm excited for this. Could they be looking at this as kind of their Game of Thrones? My first reaction is to say, hey, listen, they put out a lot of different shows. But then I thought about it more and I thought, you know what? This is a property that's going to have, it already has its place in the cultural zeitgeist just because of the subject matter of it and the material. You do this right, that's a huge phrase, if you do this right, you know what? I actually believe this could. I don't know. I don't think it's going to draw 19 million viewers like, Rings of Power or House of the Dragon or anything like that. I don't think it's going to get that kind of number. But if you do this right in the right way, with the right approach, in a live action environment, and they certainly put together a really good cast, then they might be looking at this as maybe their kind of answer. I mean, they've got a lot of different corners already covered with a lot of other types of shows. But this kind of high fantasy kind of thing, this could be it, maybe. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
Well, yeah, and our viewer was asking about whether they're making a Zeitgeist show.
Yeah.
I think that Netflix had Zeitgeist shows, and Stranger Things, and Squid Game, and any number of documentaries.
But in the same vein as a Rings of Power.
Yeah, I mean,
or House of the Dragon.
I think instead they're looking at the fact that it's an incredibly successful animated series. It's got a great fantasy, sweeping fantasy, epic vibe to it. I think that's what they're trying to create. I don't think, I mean, you can't, it's just like you can't make a cult movie. You can't go out and say, I'm going to make a cult film. A cult film happens, and a Zeitgeist series happens. What you have to do is you have to make the greatest show that you can. There's always hope that you want it to catch on, but if nothing else, I think they want it to be a great show first and foremost. I mean, Lord of the Rings and whether it's House of the Dragon or these are things that are earned, and we've already seen what happens when it's done badly.
Yeah, but one of our viewers, I think it was Austin, in the live chat, brings up a really good one, Witcher. So we've already seen in something like Witcher that they can take that kind of material. And I understand, I can hear everybody screaming at me right now. John, Witcher is different from Last Airbender. I know, but I'm talking in that vein. They've shown they can take that high fantasy kind of stuff and do something really good with it.
Yeah, and look, I agree, and I think that's what they're trying to do, because look, you can't look, everybody wants to hit home runs, but that idea, that mentality is wrong. What you want to do is you want to make a great show that your audience loves to get those subscribers to come in. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And the people they've hired are trying to do that. And that's what they want, because, it's not like you're trying to create the next Last Airbender's been around for a while. It's not something new.
Right.
So I think what they want to do is service that material, make a great show, so people that don't know the animated series are like, oh, what is that?
That'll stand on its own.
Stand on its own, and they'll get new subscribers come in specifically to watch the show. Everybody hopes it'll be a Zeitgeist thing, but you can't shoot for that.
Amy, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, if the question is sort of, are they kind of trying to ride that wave? I would say no, because as we've pointed out, we've seen Netflix. One thing I think Netflix really does excel at is they're sort of diving into these genre series.
Right.
You have Bridgerton doing, this sort of romance period piece. You have things like Haunting of Hill House. They're not afraid to hit a pretty wide spread of genre.
Yeah,
that's true.
And to me, well, they are both high fantasy, or they are all kind of in that fantasy realm. Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of lives in a different place for me. And even just the source material being so different from what things like Rings of Power or what the Game of Thrones show is spinning off. So I think it's just Netflix continuing to ride that wave of these series where we really are putting the budget into it and delving into a genre and doing something that, excites people in one way or another. I think it's just Netflix doing more of what Netflix does.
Would you say that this is actually more comparable? And I'm just pulling this out. This is not a rhetorical question. Netflix, I said most of the time they crush it with the original series. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they have some high-profile failures.
Sure.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Would you say maybe that this Last Airbender, whereas the person asking the question and us were kind of comparing it to that high fantasy kind of thing, but would you say maybe the more apt comparison is to Cowboy Bebop than that? I personally lean more towards Dragon, but I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, the thing about, again, what I find really interesting about adapting these properties is when modern creators start to change these properties to make them fit the in fashion, not just political discourse, but even fashion itself. And they forget the basic underlying principles of why they wanted to adapt it in the first place. And I think that The Last Airbender as an animated series, it's all right there. Like, if you look at that animated show, it's so good. And I think that The Last Airbender, the movie, didn't really lean into what was great about the animated show. And I think what Netflix is doing is they're looking at that and going, if we adapt this show the way it was conceived, we're going to end up having a great TV series that in this climate with House of the Dragon succeeding, whether you love Rings of Power or not, people are watching it. People like high fantasy. Witcher has worked for us. They're trying to make a great fantasy show that will stand on its own, that will live for a long time, that will always have viewers come in.
And I would argue just that I think Avatar works because it is a bit of a D none of the above. It's not quite fantasy in a way we've seen before. It's not, quite really anything. I can't think of anything that's quite comparable. And I do think it's why that series works so well. And I think it's probably why they were so interested in adapting it.
Sandman too. Sandman is actually a great adaptation.
It is.
Of the comic. It really is.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Do you think Netflix is kind of angling for Avatar, The Last Airbender to be like the next House of the Dragon or Rings of Power, or are they kind of aiming for something else? However you guys see it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. Now, as we've been doing this week, we've been getting in the habit of taking 2 of our hotline questions. So let's do that again today. So what is our next hotline question?
Hey, John, this is Chris from Palmdale, California. It was announced at D23 that Tim Blake Nelson would be reprising his role as the leader for Captain America New World Order. Do you think that we will possibly see him in a quick cameo showing him as the leader in She-Hulk and like a real quick post-credit scene possibly towards the end of the season? Thanks, John. Bring on the filthy.
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in. Now, of course, as soon as they mentioned they were doing She-Hulk and that there were going to be cameos, we'll obviously think Hulk. Maybe you could bring in Abomination and other characters that have been associated with the Hulk thing. And of course, one of the ones that a lot of people have been asking about is Tim Blake Nelson as leader, which has kind of been ignored ever since that one movie. And it, of course, was announced, like they just mentioned at D23, that the leader is going to be the bad guy of Captain America New World Order, which has been described by the director, we talked about this the other day, as a paranoid thriller, which I love that. I love that. So, since Tim Blake Nelson, as leader, who has been connected to the Hulk character, is coming back, does it stand to reason that we're going to see a quick cameo from him in She-Hulk? I'm actually going to guess no. And I really think no because of the way they described Captain America New World Order, a paranoid thriller. When you look at the tone of She-Hulk, which is great as its own self-contained thing, do you really want to introduce the main villain of an upcoming paranoid thriller in She-Hulk? The way She-Hulk's being done. I mean, Wong is a perfect fit. You can easily slide like a Wong into that, and even Bruce, you could do something like that because he is smart Hulk at this point. But can you introduce the big, threatening, menacing villain of Captain America, New World Order, a paranoid thriller in She-Hulk? And I just don't see it. Now, look, they said that one thing in the one episode, that somebody's trying to get samples of her blood. And we know that the leader does that from the last Hulk film. So that is still there, but I just don't see how you bring him in there and then we're supposed to take him deadly serious in the Captain America thing. Amy, at this point, do you think we could see the leader cameo in She-Hulk?
I think possibly. And the only reason I understand what you're saying with the tone thing, but I do think you can strike a different tone on those, little like runners at the like credit scenes. And I think especially maybe if we're going the last credit scene of the last episode, could you go a little more dramatic and set something up that's a bit of a oh shit moment for the audience? I think they could pull that off.
Rob, what do you think? What do you think the chances are right now that we're going to see the leader pop up in one of the last few episodes of She-Hulk?
I don't think so, only because they filmed She-Hulk quite a while ago. I think where we're going to see him show up is in Secret Invasion, because that is a paranoid thriller, and it has been made, and it is coming out. And I think Secret Invasion, I mean, where does he belong? Okay, you could say he could show up in She-Hulk, but I don't think so. I think you're right, because it's all a tonal issue, and I think that Secret Invasion is going to lead right into New World Order, for various reasons, and I would imagine seeing him show up there. But maybe he will. I mean, who knows? But I think not. I'm leaning toward not.
All right. Guys, question is for you. What do you think? Do you think now that Tim Blake Nelson's been announced that he's going to be the villain in the MCU in the new Captain America film, that increases the chances we'll see him in She-Hulk? Or maybe like me thinking it decreases the chances? Remember, that blood thing is still there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying no, but I'm aware that blood issue is still there. So I don't know. We'll see. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys, with all that down, we're going to move into our main topics here. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank another sponsor of today's show, the folks doing good work over at BetterHelp. Hey guys, we want to thank one of the sponsors of today's video, BetterHelp. Let me ask you something. How well would you take care of your car if you knew that was going to be the only car you ever had for your entire life? Well, that's how our brains and our minds work. So why don't we treat them the same way? Because how we take care of our minds will affect how we experience life. So it's important to invest time and care into keeping it healthy. Now, there are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps, but there's also BetterHelp online therapy. Now, I've talked about this before, but I've never understood this stigma attached to people wanting to seek out ways to improve their mental health. When somebody decides to go to the gym to improve their physical health, we think that's great. Well, that's the same way we need to look at taking care of our mental health as well. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat-only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you're not comfortable with that. And it's much more affordable than in-person therapy. So guys, listen, right now, the John Campea Show viewers and listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp, not just for sponsoring the John Campea Show, but for helping so many people with what they do. Don't forget, guys, links to all of our sponsors and their promo codes are down in the description of this video. And when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So thank you for supporting them. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics on the show? Well, that's easy. You guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's 100% free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Amy, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes to us from me here. Hi, John and crew. I received an email today that AMC will be raising the price of A-List by $1, at least here in New Jersey. In my opinion, it's still worth it, as one movie in Dolby or IMAX can cost upwards of $28 in northern New Jersey. My question is, do you think AMC will keep raising prices, and how frequently? Do you think a possible resurgence of MoviePass can keep prices competitive?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, me here. Okay, so yes. Now, look, I'm not a big fan. I don't know if you knew this, Ray. This might surprise you. I'm not a big fan of the CEO of AMC Theaters.
No, yeah, no.
Your BFF?
Yeah, just like that.
Why'd you make those friendship bracelets for?
I know. I made 3. Me, him, and Bob Chapek. I mean, we just like frolic in the.
You call yourself the Wolf
together.
Pack.
Yeah, we're a wolf pack of 3. Exactly. So I'm not. But that being said, I am still actually AMC Theaters is still my theater of choice. I really do like. The movie-going experience at AMC Theaters, although they got to do something about how long they run their trailers. It's utterly ridiculous that a movie doesn't start till a half hour after you say the movie starts. It's got to change. That being said,
There she is.
there she is. So
I'm back.
Raise your prices. You got to pay. You got to pay her what she's
someone's
worth.
got to pay the whatever they're paying Nicole Kidman. They
I
gotta
mean,
pick
if
up-
we have
It's
to
not enough.
contract,
That's
It
right.
we
is
better
not
get another
enough.
promo.
and you know,
though.
sequels, you always got to
we
pay
are.
the talent more.
I want the Empire Strikes Back of that AMC ad.
That's what I want. So here's the thing. I've said for a long time that I think the absolute best deal in movie going is AMC A-List. Regal's got a great one as well with their Regal Unlimited. Cinemark has a really intriguing membership plan as well, which I signed up for recently. So there's others out there too, but I really love AMC A-List. And they are raising their prices. This comes to us from that email that they sent out to their Stubs and AMC A-List members. And it reads the following. This is what I got in my email. A-List membership price update. John, the price of your AMC Stubs A-List monthly membership fee is changing to $24.95 or $25 a month, effective on your first billing date on or after November of 2022. You'll continue to enjoy all your A-List benefits, including up to 3 free movies every week in any format, including Dolby Cinema, IMAX, and more. Online ticket fees waived with every reservation. Exciting perks like $5 rewards for every $50 spent, and there was a few other nonchalant things in there. As well.
I would just like to go on record to say I just checked my email, and they will continue to honor my current monthly membership until my 3-month commitment period ends. So I'm scamming them for that
so
dollar
you're
for a
good
month.
for a bit. Woo, you get the better price for a while. Now, in some places, in many places around the United States, the AMC A-List price is currently $19.95 and stuff like that. So it's going up a bit. I think for me, it's going up by $1 or $2 being in California. I have no doubt that their plan is to raise it more as time goes on. So am I outraged at this price hike? No. I mean, listen, I'd like to sit here and say, oh, how dare they? But here's the reality. At $25, I am getting 12 movies a month. On top of that, I got to get my popcorn and my soda when I go. And because my A-List, I actually get the upgrades for the cheaper price. So I'm saving money on all my snacks. I actually get some credit every time I use A-List. And so like Ann and I, we went to like the movies last week, and I realized, oh, I got some reward. I had like $100-something in rewards saved up on my AMC A-List card. I was like, oh yeah, because $5, it adds up. And I was like, oh yeah, so I bought everything. And so, we said, let's screw going out to dinner afterwards. Let's just get 5 hot dogs and some nachos and pizza right now.
My God, you must have felt great.
I wanted to run a marathon after that. I mean, the reality is, because you're right, you go on a Saturday night opening weekend in an AMC Prime theater, you're paying close to $20 for one movie. Or going to an IMAX thing. You're paying premium $18, $19, $20. You were saying in New Jersey, you can get upwards of like $28. I mean, that I can't even understand that. $25 to get all of that stuff? It is still, to me, they could raise, don't tell Adam Aaron this, but they could raise this to $35 a month, and I would still say this is the best value for a movie going out there.
$35 it is.
$35 it is. And everybody thank John Campea for that. Ooh.
Are they going to charge me extra every time I sneak in a Chipotle burrito? As long as that stays
I am
free,
going to
I'm
Venmo
good.
you $5 for ruining my movie experience.
I mean, listen, even if it was $35, let's say I went to one movie a week.
Yeah.
Well, on an average day, I'm still paying, that's $15. That's still $60 a month for seeing one movie a week in a regular theater. Again, if you are a serious movie fan, I don't know that there's a better value out there. So I'm honestly, while I don't like the idea of prices going up just like anybody, I'm okay with it because the value you get in return is still top notch. Rob, what do you think about the price increase?
Well, for me, you just said it. It depends. Is it valuable to you because how many times you go see the movies?
Yeah, if you only go once a month, then it's not worth it.
No, but if you're an avid moviegoer, like sometimes I've seen movies, every Saturday and Sunday. And if you do that, and you can buy multiple tickets on yours, can't you?
You can have up to 3 a week.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's an incredible value. So if you're going to the movies, if you're an avid moviegoer, you live close to an AMC theater, what a great deal. Adding $1 or $2, come on. Plus you get money off your refreshments, like you said.
Yeah, I in all honesty, I probably save like $20 or $30 a month just from the getting charged the lower price for my concession stand.
That might be a sign you eat too much pot. Your blood is half butter.
It's all butter.
And sour cream.
You don't understand. I don't put butter on my popcorn. Popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device.
Oh, yeah.
So I get my butter's worth when I go there. Damn straight I do.
You are Mr. Buttersworth.
Listen, still, at $25 a month, this is more expensive than any streaming membership, right? Like that's more expensive than Disney Plus. That's more expensive than HBO. That's more expensive. I mean, not if you add them all together, but still, I mean, I see it as a good value. How do you see it?
I mean, I feel like we're starting to sound like a damn ad for the program, but
It's true.
honest to God, every time, because I just recently got this, and when I tell people about it, I get those so you could do like IMAX? Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do 3D? Yeah. how much did you say it was? Like 25
'Cause I
bucks?
think
And I watched
Regals-
the wheels turn because the thing that feels like a ripoff at the AMC now is just going to a movie. You know,
Right,
you start
right,
going and
right.
especially in the evenings, it's like, damn, this is a $50 night out before dinner, before drinks. But to get this for 25 bucks a month, I could go twice and it's more than paid for itself in a month.
Yeah.
And the point you're raising about IMAX, if I'm not mistaken, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I believe the Regal, which is also really great, Regal's Unlimited thing is great, but I believe if you want to go see a movie in IMAX, you actually pay an extra charge.
Wow.
Nothing unreasonable, but I think it's like a couple more bucks. If you want to go see it in their premium, what is it, 4DX or whatever it is, you
yeah,
got to
that
pay a couple of
promotion,
extra
right.
bucks on top of it.
Right.
With AMC A-List,
It's just there.
Prime, IMAX, it's all covered.
I was sure when I got it that was not going to be included. I was actually pretty floored when I saw that it was just free.
By the way, when you have other theatrical chains having to declare bankruptcy or things like that, what you're doing also is supporting the movie-going experience in general, because those memberships are money that AMC can count on as being a revolving
Yep.
money that's coming into them every month. So if you want to see the theatrical experience preserved, it's a great way to support theatrical movie-going.
All right. With that down, guys, what do you think about this AMC price hike? I mean, listen, none of us who are consumers ever want to hear about prices going up, but I still contend that this AMC A-List thing is the best value for a moviegoer out there, even at an increased price. I know. What do you guys feel about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Amy, what is our second main topic today?
Our second main topic comes to us from Adam. Hey, John, was hoping you guys could talk about She-Hulk episode 5. I haven't watched it yet. It comes on in an hour for me. So far, I've mildly enjoyed the show. I know you said you didn't really like last week's episode. Neither did I, but I found it okay enough in general so far. I'm hoping it picks up, though. Do you think episode 5 did that? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Adam. And of course, listen, you know what, Jonathan, before you do anything here, just to be safe,
Oh, you want the spoilers up?
let's bring up the spoilers warning because
I don't feel like there's much to spoil.
There's not a lot to spoil, but still, just to be safe, let's bring up the spoilers thing. If you have not seen She-Hulk, and there's nothing world-shattering that can possibly be said about the episode, but maybe come back, mute the show right now, and then unmute it once the spoilers logo goes down. But yeah, She-Hulk episode 5. I thought She-Hulk episode 4. That was last week, right? Last week was 4. I personally thought it was the worst episode of the series. That said, by the end of it, I did want a Wong and Madison show all on its own. I will confess it. I hated that character at first, but by the end of it, I'm like, damn it, they got me. I want to see Madison with the Y not where
Could be the new moonlighting, John.
That could be your new Moonlight. I suddenly want, even though I thought it was the weakest installment of the series so far. Last night, I pop it on and I see the total runtime, including all the credits, is 31 minutes, which I believe makes it the shortest episode yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt short. It was really, really
did.
short. That said, I thought it was a charming episode. I did. I thought it was a charming episode, not the best episode they've had so far, but the whole stuff about, you got to understand, between Ray and a couple of friends of mine who are avid sneaker collectors. No lie. You guys remember Matt from the 4-year consideration days? Remember Matt? He literally has a room in his house. A room that is only for his kicks, only for his sneakers collection. That's it. Entire room in the house, all just sneakers. Ray is very
We
big.
all
into
have
the
our
sneakers.
things.
Ray's into his stuff. Our buddy Ryan.
Ryan, he
He's
does
really
the sneaker thing. I think specifically just the Kobe shoes. He gets a bunch of those, some Jordans, but Matt is probably the biggest collector
He's
I
the
know.
most hardcore dude we know. And
Yeah.
like, to me, I treat my shoes like I treat my underwear. Like, I'll buy like one set and then I wear it until
your
it
socks.
evaporates.
Oh boy, I have so many questions, but I don't want to know the answers, so I'm not going to ask them.
I mean, I will have 12 pairs of underwear, but
Oh,
I'll
thank
keep
God.
those same 12 pair for like 5 years until they're like threads hanging by the waistband anymore.
You must
how
not
I
get
treat my-
moist at all.
That's how I treat my
oh my God,
shoes.
all the words, just stop them all.
That's why our
Wow.
friends at Me Undies have become my best friends. Thank you, our sponsor at Me Undies. But I treat my shoes the same way. It's like I'll wear them till there's like literally holes in the bottom of them. Then I'll splurge and get a new pair of shoes. So I didn't, but that was funny. and fun. I love the whole Edna Mode Incredibles thing ad because spot
Look
put in
it.
there. But I'll tell you what, I think they had my favorite line of the series. That Anne was asleep, the whole house was quiet, and if you were in the living room out of nowhere, you heard my laugh like a maniac. There's a line near the end where what's the name of the wrestler who was on the date? Who's the WWE wrestler who went on the date with She-Hulk?
Kate Hudson. Oh, not Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson.
No. She was dating. No. That wrestler
Kate
had
Hudson.
been dating either
Is it
Kate Hudson
Tonga or
yeah. I forgot. his name.
for arguments, I will say Tonga for now.
Yeah.
It's probably something else. But so this isn't give away any of the plot. But near the end, Titania is walking out of a courtroom, and the guy who had gone on the date with She-Hulk, the big muscular professional wrestler guy, goes up and goes, "Hey, what's up?" It's like, "Maybe I can take you out." She goes, best line, Titania, "Fine, you can buy me things." It just, I died. I started laughing so hard. Her delivery of that, "I'm fine, you can buy me things." I just about died. I thought it was great. And then, of course, the big reveal at the end was in the costume designer's studio. He's got Daredevil's new headpiece. So obviously Daredevil didn't point out, but listen, overall, I actually thought a perfectly charming, good example of what the She-Hulk show is, and I enjoyed it. Was it great? No, but I had a good time watching it. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to check out the show. What were your overall thoughts of it?
I mean, I liked the show. I thought it was entertaining as far as it went. I just wanted it to be overall. I mean, I liked this episode a lot. I thought it was enjoyable. I liked the court case. I just wish the show overall, especially this episode, was a little bit smarter, because obviously Titania, I guess, is a send-up of Jeffree Star, who's a big internet influencer who also has a huge cosmetics company.
There are lots of those, though.
But I mean, he's in particular incredibly wealthy and all that. And I just wish that the portrayal of her was a little bit nuanced. I mean, it's so written like she's such a one-dimensional villain. And I wanted to see a little bit more of, because I thought what she had done, the idea of trademarking the She-Hulk brand was pretty funny and pretty smart. And I mean, it seems silly to say this, but I would have liked to have seen that idea examined a little bit more, especially with intellectual property being such a big deal now, but that's fine. But I did love the idea. I love the idea because you think to yourself like, okay, Daredevil does not make his outfits. Where do they come from?
We know where they come from the Netflix show.
Well, from the
they don't come from this
but
guy.
I love that they did that. And I'm like, okay, they've actually done some world building to the MCU. And I quite enjoyed, and I did like what was happening in the episode. But it does seem to me that I just wish it was a little bit more sophisticated.
Right, but
Even in
that's
the
not what the show has been.
I
That's
know.
not been its identity.
I know. I
at
just
this
wish
point.
the humor was a little bit more highbrow. But it
All
was
right.
still fun.
Amy, you had a chance to see. What did you think of it?
I thought the humor was hitting better for me. I thought even, I know we were talking like all the guys on the dates felt so generic in the last episode. And I thought even seeing them again in the courtroom, it felt a little more specific. It felt a little sharper. I like that we're sort of doing just these little one-off adventures. My issue with the show and with this episode on sort of a meta level, this episode really felt like it was spinning its wheels. Like the outfit thing even just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. It felt very like, we need something to do this week before we get to a new guest star. And what bothers me on a show that is very explicitly exploring themes of like, what is the crap women have to deal with that men don't? How are women treated differently? How are they not respected? On a meta level, that I think the only episode they've had so far that didn't have one of their big male beloved characters coming in felt very wheel spinning to me. Felt like they don't really know what to do when it's just Jennifer having an adventure. So that kind of bothers me, that it feels like, okay, we had the Bruce episodes and then we had the Wong episodes and now we don't really know what to do. Oh, but Matt Murdock's coming back. It just, to me, feels a little like, if this show is supposed to be about her, figure out what to do with her when you don't have one of your big beloved characters coming in. Not that I'm not enjoying those characters on the show. I just wish it felt like this episode wasn't such a sort of just biding our time until we get the next character in.
Also, John, I do think, though, that the legal case was actually pretty interesting.
it actually very much was.
And I thought they did a really good job, like establishing when did she start using this and call. And I thought it was actually pretty clever when she came to the realization that I went out on Tinder or whatever, and I was using my name representing myself as She-Hulk. And that was the way, I mean, that seemed like actual legal precedent. And I thought that was interesting.
I think even if this plot came earlier in the season, I would have been more into it. It felt like things were like getting pretty superhero-y, and now we're just doing a legal thing, which I like. But at this point, it feels like that's all we were doing this
I could
episode.
totally be all for this show if it literally was an Ally McBeal. Every week was a different legal case, and an aspect of her superpoweredness has to come into play. But I'm totally down for the legal case of the week, like a what's the name of that show? Law and Order. Like if they did like in Law and Order. Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, like the chat brought up his name because I didn't know his name. His name is Pug, the sneaker guy.
Yes, the sneaker guy. I'm actually liking Pug
like
more.
Pug.
I didn't care about him at the beginning. Same with the Tracksuit Mafia, but as episodes progress,
I'm liking
like
him
for some
more.
reason I thought he was hilarious. Like his banter with her or her partner or assistant,
with Jennifer's assistant. Yeah.
yeah, was great. Just how she tricked him into going with her to that one place, and you know how he's trying to get her to wait in line because there's only one person. I thought that whole conversation was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm liking their dynamic. So there's positive things in there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. I guess we can take down the spoilers thing now. What did you
figured
think
out how to do it.
about the? Oh, that's right. John has got
one more quick thing. If and when they make Avengers shirts, I will buy one.
Avengers. Oh,
I like Avengers.
with an I.
Oh,
What do
so
you
funny.
guys think about this episode? I thought it was definitely a step up from last week's episode, but that wasn't terribly hard. But how are you feeling about overall? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's hear from another one of our sponsors on today's show, our friends, keeping us smooth and shiny over at Manscaped. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Amy, what is our third main topic today?
Our third topic comes to us from JT. Greetings, John and gang. Deadline is reporting that Jeff Loveness, the writer of several Rick and Morty episodes and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, will pen the script for Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. What do you guys think of this, since most of his credits do not come from feature films? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Yeah, of course. So like with Avengers Kang Dynasty, of course, the big first question was who's going to direct it? Mm-hmm. And Destin is going to the director of Shang-Chi, who's been announced. He's going to direct that. I think that's fabulous. He did such a killer job with Shang-Chi. Cannot wait to see what he does there. But then the next question became up, who's going to write it? And it has now come out. This comes to us from the folks over at Deadline, who wrote the following. After announcing the Avengers, the Kang Dynasty at this year's Comic-Con, Marvel Studios looks to have found their writer, who will now pen the highly anticipated film. Sources tell Deadline that Jeff Loveness, who recently wrote Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, will pen Kang Dynasty for Marvel. Loveness will join Destin Daniel Cretton, who has been recently set as the director of the project, with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, of course, producing. Now, this is interesting on several levels. Number one, Jeff is, of course, directing or writing the Kang story that's going to really get started in Quantumania. Of course, we got introduced to him in Loki, but I think the real story is going to get started here. So you've already got the guy now who is writing the foundation of this character. So it tells me a couple things. Number one, it tells me that it's very, just because the character's in two different things doesn't mean there's a lot of connection. It tells me there's probably more of a connection than we're thinking. So I got to think that it's more than just Kang the character. I think we're going to see themes and storylines that are going to transition from Ant-Man into Avengers Kang Dynasty. So that's the first thing it tells me. The second thing it tells me is they must really like what he wrote for Ant-Man Quantumania, because if it doesn't matter if it's the precursor to Kang, if they looked at his screenplay and said it was all right, then you do not let him write an Avengers movie. The Avengers movies are their crown jewels. This is what makes them all the money. So you're not going to hand over the writing responsibilities to somebody who turned in a script for you that was okay. I would go so far as to say you're not even going to hand it over to a guy who you thought the script was good. They must really like the script he does. Now, how the movie turns out, we'll find out how the third Ant-Man film turns out, but they at least really must have loved the script. Rick and Morty fans, rejoice, because you got a writer from Rick and Morty who's going to do it. I mean, that's probably going to worry some people that they might try to do too much humor, but I mean, coming out of Rick and Morty and an Ant-Man loads a lot of humor in there too. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But number one, there's clearly going to be stronger thematic connections than we even thought. And number two, this must be a sign that they loved what he wrote for Ant-Man 3. Anyway, Rob, you heard about Jeff is now writing Avengers Kang Dynasty. What do you think about this edition?
Well, I think what's really interesting about this is Rick and Morty does not get enough credit for some of the science fiction concepts and how
there's a lot of multiverse in there.
Them. Yeah, and I really think, despite the fact that it's very funny, it's very humorous, there is a lot of pretty interesting science fiction concepts that are dealt with in a fascinating way. And I can only imagine that, Kevin Feige is always looking for people like that might not be the first choice for something, but he knows, he's like, that person knows how to do what I need them to do. They just haven't been able to do it in this particular medium.
He handles it like Moneyball, but for movie making.
That's a very apt. That's you know what? I never thought of it that way, but that's exactly right. And he's like, just because he's working in animation doesn't mean he can't apply that to live action too. And clearly, like you pointed out, what Quantumania must have a great script, because what does Quantumania do? It combines a humorous element with probably very heady sci-fi concepts, with the multiverse, with branching timelines and all of that. And you are setting up, as we know, Kang as a big bad in that movie. So it makes perfect sense to me. And I think that, once again, I mean, I'd like to know what Avengers are going to be in this movie. I want to know, are there Avengers? Where are the Avengers? Who are the Avengers? Don't know, but I'm sure we're going to know when that movie gets made, and I think it's a good choice.
By the way, can we bring that image up for a second? Mm-hmm. Tell me you didn't think for a second this was Jake Gyllenhaal's slightly less attractive younger brother. He's got that look. And hey, even being a slightly less attractive Jake Gyllenhaal still means you're more attractive than 99% of the people in the world. Oh, yes. Anyway, Amy, you're hearing about this. What do you think of the selection? I was a little bit surprised, but I guess we shouldn't be. But what do you think?
I would be more worried about, his lack of film credits if he hadn't written Quantumania. And, again, as you said, they saw that script. They obviously like something. Something's obviously working. And I think it's really interesting looking at his other credits. I'm seeing a lot of, he's written for the Emmy Awards, the Academy Awards. Looks like he wrote an episode of that show Miracle Workers on top of Rick and Morty. So clearly, to me, that says they must be going with a more comedic twist for the next Avengers, which I'm on board for. I feel like humor in the MCU can be a little hit or miss. So I would say, and like Rob pointed out, Rick and Morty it can get heavier. It does handle a lot of sci-fi tropes. So I think if you're combining someone who has proven between Rick and Morty and whatever he's done with Quantumania that he can handle that, and then really has a good grasp for writing comedy, I think we could end up with something really fun here, which I would be on board for.
By the way, can we bring that image up again?
Which
the Jake Gyllenhaal is Andrew K in the live chat brought up a really, really good point. The one they had Kang and Jeff, the writer, on, brought up a really, really good point. He said, he said a name, and it's like, oh, so because of what Andrew said, I'm going to say this. He looks more like Jake Gyllenhaal and Jared Leto had a baby.
Yes.
That's where it is. So call out to Andrew K in the live chat for that. All right, guys, question is for you. Probably the next biggest box office movie out there is going to be Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now we know who both the director and now the writer is going to be. The writer of Ant-Man Quantumania. What do you think about the choice? Are you a little bit nervous about it? Do you think it makes sense? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? And main topic number 4 is kind of like an off the top because it's something that just kind of came out this morning, the word of this, and that is this. Now, we've been hearing a little while some whispers that Amazon may be looking at getting a Blade Runner sequel series going that would take place like 50 years after the events of Blade Runner 2049 and would be considered a direct sequel to those events. And we even heard whispers that Ridley Scott himself might be the executive producer on it. Well, it's now official. Blade Runner is officially coming to Amazon. It's been ordered to series directly from Amazon. Again, it is being considered a direct sequel to Blade Runner 2049. I don't think that means Ryan Gosling's going to be in it or anything like that. It is going to be overseen by Ridley Scott, and it is coming. This comes from the folks over at Variety. They wrote this. Amazon has formally ordered a Blade Runner sequel series, Variety has learned. The live-action project titled Blade Runner 2099 was first announced as being in development at the streamer back in February, while Ridley Scott first revealed the show was in the works back in November of 2021. Silka Luisa will serve as the showrunner and executive producer, with Ridley Scott also serving as executive producer under his Scott Free Productions banner. Now, this is interesting on a couple of levels. One, because who asked for another Blade Runner? I mean, Blade Runner 2049 came out, and it's great. Ain't nobody went to go see it. Like, nobody went to go see it. And the movie was really quite good. I don't even like the original Blade Runner, but I love Blade Runner 2049. I think most people really enjoyed Blade. I mean, the cinematography. Deakins did that one, right? Didn't Roger Deakins?
Yeah. 2049 he did.
Did 2049.
Jordan Cronenweth shot the first one.
Oh my God, the visuals in that are so gorgeous and beautiful. And it's a wonderful movie, but ain't nobody went to go see it, which was unfortunate. So I find it an interesting choice that they would pick that to develop into this big series. I mean, you look at House of the Dragon is coming off this worldwide phenomenon, Game of Thrones. Rings of Power, the worldwide phenomenon of Lord of the Rings. Even Avatar, The Last Airbender is coming off this globally beloved property. I find it interesting that they're doing this, and they're probably going to be dumping a lot of money into it. And I mean, Rob, you hear about this. Blade Runner 2099, Ridley Scott's at the helm. What do you think about it?
Look, I think Blade Runner is a niche cult kind of a story. I don't think it's a franchise. That said, I really like Blade Runner 2049. And the central idea of it, replicants are essentially manufactured human beings. And the whole idea of Blade Runner is exploring the idea of, can a manufactured human being have a soul? And in Blade Runner 2049, they were dealing with the reproductive abilities. I mean, Jared Leto's character, Wallace, wanted to create replicants that could procreate with one another. So then the question is, if you have created a society of artificial people and they can then reproduce, do they have souls? I think it's very interesting. I think they can make a really interesting show out of it. If it's a limited series, I don't know how you take an episode or a show that is essentially about cops going after this class of people, because Blade Runners, their whole job is to hunt down and kill replicants to retire them. How do you make that into a series? I don't know.
And the world's got to change a lot over the 50 years from 2049 to 2099.
I would assume then that replicants, I mean, unless they take the place of, say, mutants, Homo superior, like you've got Homo sapiens in the X-Men franchise, and then Homo superior mutants were going to replace them. Maybe that's where we're at. Maybe we're at a where this new species, call it what you want, and the environmental collapse that was seen in Blade Runner 2049, we're now on the edge of the end of humanity, and maybe replicants are going to take over entirely. What does that mean? I don't know, but it could be interesting.
I think it's a little bit like Terminator, almost in a way.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
a Matrix scenario.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And wouldn't it be better if you were an artificial human being and you are stronger and better and more intellectually capable. I don't know.
And look like Anna de Armas. Anyway, Amy,
She was a hologram, though.
What do you think about this? About them, doing a full-blown Blade Runner 29? Do you think this is going to catch a lot of people's attention?
I mean, all I know for sure is Amazon's ready to throw some more money at some more stuff.
Yes.
I'm not a huge Blade Runner person, but with what we've seen with things like Rings of Power, clearly they're ready to throw their budget at set design, and I'm sure this will look stunning. Is that going to pay off? I'm not sure. I don't feel like that's something I hear like a lot of my friends being like, oh, I love Blade Runner. Oh, I want more Blade Runner. But if it's fantastic, if it catches on and everybody's just going, it's really good, and it might pay off.
There could be an argument to be made here that the world of Blade Runner may actually play out better in a series.
Yeah.
Could be.
Maybe. Again, it is such a shame because the Blade Runner 2049, the second film, it was so good. And it made less than $260 million. Not $260 million opening weekend. Not $260 million domestically. I mean, total worldwide, it made under $260
And it cost like $175 million, which I never understood. Blade Runner, it was never successful. It's basically a cult movie. And to me, this franchise, as much as I love both the original and the sequel, it's a franchise that Hollywood loves because it's such a beautiful example of movie making, and people love this movie. But as a business decision,
well, they blew the marketing too. Like the marketing on this wasn't as bad as Live, Die, Repeat, All You Need Is Kill, Legends of Tomorrow, Part 5, Episode Due. Like it wasn't quite as bad as that, but they totally botched the marketing on this thing too. Because remember, we talked a lot about when this movie came out. It was like all the trailers came out. Never once did they give any idea what this movie was about at all. It's like asking a customer in Best Buy, buy that blank white box. What's in it? Don't worry about it. Just buy the box and open it up when you get home. And I felt like that's what
Oh my God, I would though.
What's in the
I
box?
gotta know.
But John, it's interesting because this is a franchise that people within the industry, when people talk about, well, the people in Hollywood are disconnected from, Joe Popcorn. I think in the case of Blade Runner, they are. As much as I love Blade Runner, and I hate to say this is such a niche movie that has never caught on. It's not like something like Terminator, which was good. It was successful, but on cable, the reputation of Terminator became huge. Everybody had seen it. So when they made Terminator 2, first $100 million movie, monster hit, there was a reason they put the money into it, and it paid off. Blade Runner has never been a movie that was beloved by the masses, ever.
And so I guess the question will become, can Amazon market? Because listen, whatever you think of Rings of Power, love it, don't love it, whatever. Amazon marketed the hell out of that movie and marketed it right. And if they can get Ridley Scott to put together a really good show, Amazon will not botch the marketing on it. They will get fully behind it on the marketing thing. And maybe this thing can work where 2049 did.
I'm just curious what the story's going to be, because to come up with a story that can sustain a series in the Blade Runner universe is rough.
They got a God of War series too, right? They're working on.
Is that Amazon doing the God of War?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
They're about to come out with some properties here.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one too. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you excited or surprised that they're making a Blade Runner 2099 series on Amazon, despite the fact that the franchise has never really taken off or been that big? Maybe this is the thing that does it. Are you excited about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to move on and start taking your live comments and questions today. If you've got a thought, opinion, theory, speculation, question that you'd like us to address on the show, we are now opening up the super chats, and this is your time to fire them in. Do it quickly, though, because we only leave the super chats open for a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, guys, we want to hear from our main sponsors on our show today, our friends at Mint Mobile. Hey guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. And now for the plot twist. I'm just kidding, there isn't one. Seriously, Mint Mobile just has premium wireless service from $15 a month. There's no trapping you into a 2-year contract or opening the bill to find these crazy fees. There's no luring you in with free subscriptions to streaming services that you'll forget to cancel and be charged full price for. I used to dread opening my phone bill every month because every time I was opening it, it was like playing roulette roulette. I never knew what the actual price was going to be, and it always seemed to get higher. But not with Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And if you're worried about the complication of switching things over, don't. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So guys, get premium wireless from just $15 a month and no unexpected plot twists at mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Seriously, you'll make your wallet very happy at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring the John Campea Show. Okay, guys, with all that down, now let's start hearing from you guys, and we're going to start things off with our beloved channel members. Ray, what do we got from our channel members?
All right, we got one from Justin Welsh. He writes, "Hey, fabulous team. Over the next couple days, watching Jaws and The Woman King in IMAX, which is getting rave reviews. Are you watching it? Always jealous of your AMC A-List versus our Cineplex plan."
Ooh, so you're in Canada. Yeah, I mean, at least Cineplex has a plan there now. I'm not really clear on the plan, but I'm sure it's better than nothing. Listen, I've been kind of stoked for Woman King ever since they showed us a big preview for it at CinemaCon months and months and months ago. It looks so good. It's based on true stuff, on true history. I'm sure they take a lot of creative liberties, absolutely, but it's based on a lot of really true stuff, and I'm hearing great things about it. I'm quite excited about seeing it myself. I hope you have a great time, man. All right, what's next?
Living with Damron writes, "When John says bye-bye at the end of the show, it always sounds like he is about to say Bob Iger, and it makes me miss Papa Iger coupled with the sadness of the show ending."
I also miss Bob Iger. Bye-bye. I guess it could be a lot of things. Yeah, listen, I miss Big Papa I miss Big Papa Iger. I obviously I wish he was still running Disney, but he's not.
He's still buff.
He's still buff, and that's enough. He's the stuff.
He's still buff. That's enough, and that's
You
stuff.
can catch him on Masterclass.
But you can see him on Masterclass, by the way, another great sponsor of our show. All right, what's next?
Murray writes, "This week's episode of She-Hulk was so disappointing, in my opinion. Was so short, like 23 minutes, even without the weekly mid-credits, and nothing happened. All besides for one moment of, hey everyone, shiny keys."
Yeah, of course, going on with the helmet that's in the thing there. Listen, I get it. I am frustrated with the run times. It felt particularly short. They didn't do much. They didn't do anything because look, they've laid down a couple of storylines, including this: who is after her blood. So there's a story thread. They didn't do any of that story thread following. They didn't do a cameo of the week. They didn't do, I mean, there was a bunch of things they just didn't do. Now, listen, for me personally, while I was disappointed with all that stuff, I still found I was still entertained for the 22 minutes that it was on. I was still entertained. I smiled and I giggled. I enjoyed it. Again, it's not great, but I had a good time, but let's hope it picks up. All right, what's next?
James Freeman writes, "I saw the new David Bowie documentary, Moonage Daydream, and was blown away. Would love to see Aaron's review of it."
I have not seen it. I mean, a lot of these documentaries I don't get a chance to see, so I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
Neon did a presentation at CinemaCon
That's
that
right.
I went to.
I wasn't at the Neon presentation.
Yeah, I
You
went
were,
because
though.
they had Crimes of the Future and they had this. I mean, it's really innovative, and the way they've combined performance stuff with it's kind of a phantasmagoria of different things, and it looked incredible. So
All right.
I'll go.
What's next?
Chris Fields writes, "Going to see Clerks 3 tonight. What is everyone's favorite Kevin Smith movie?"
Chasing Amy. I mean, it's funny because I have Clerks 2 in my all-time favorite top 20 because it was a very personal movie for me. It's a very special movie for me. But it's weird because my first reaction was to say when you say, "What's your favorite Kevin Smith?" I think it's Chasing Amy. I mean, that movie's just so...
I agree with you.
Yeah?
That's my favorite too.
Do you have a favorite one, Amy?
Probably the original Clerks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go with the original Clerks.
That'd be my second.
Same here.
All right, what's
good.
next?
The last one is from People's Champ 2007. Are we going to talk about the Toxic Avenger movie with Peter Dinklage?
When there's something to talk about, I guess.
Yeah. Did something drop?
Yeah, I haven't heard any new news about it. I mean, that's something they've been talking about, I think, for a couple of years. So when there's something to talk about, we'll probably talk about it. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move over to the super chats you guys have been sending in. Amy, what's in our super chats?
Michael Serta says, is there any significant difference between Roku, Fire Stick, and the Apple TV Hub? And if so, which is the best one to go with? Much love, crew.
Honestly, there used to be more differences, like as to what you could access. Like it used to be that one of those platforms would be missing some significant service. But I think you could pretty much, I think on all of them now you can get Disney Plus and HBO. I mean, there was a while there where Roku had a problem where I think it was HBO wasn't on the service.
I think you should just, to the whoever wrote the question, you should just go with whatever suits your ecosystem at home better. If you're using a bunch of products from Apple, you might as well get the Apple one. They'll all do the same thing, I think.
The one thing I will say though is that I used to have an Apple TV years ago, so I haven't used one of the more newer generations of it.
You were the one. You were one of the first people I knew at it, and I was like, "Why did they make this? What is this about?"
Yeah, and I liked it.
They figured stuff out way early.
Yeah, and I liked it, but I haven't used any of the more modern ones. So I've been mostly a Roku guy for a while, but then about a year or so ago, I tried the new Google Chromecast with Google TV built in. And I actually kind of fell in love with it, mainly because I found it to be the most responsive. Like a lot of times on some of my other streamers, like whether it's an Amazon Stick or a Roku or an Apple TV, like you're trying to put in a password and you got to click twice sometimes to make it actually move, or there's a little bit of lag. And I found with my Google Chromecast, it was just snappy and quick. The voice command stuff on it is very, very good because it has Google Assistant built right into it. But, Apple has Siri built into their thing now. The Rokus have gotten better. Honestly, I think it's to your taste because I think they all do a really good job.
I mean,
now.
don't like most TVs just kind of give you access to all the streamers now anyway?
Yes, but I was about to say, I'm glad you brought that up. The one thing you do not do is use the ones built into a smart TV.
Why?
They are garbage. Their processors are the slowest power. They are the least responsive, and they're really just collecting your personal data. The reason that the TV companies now put them in there is because they collect your personal data on your viewing habits and all that kind of stuff. And they have the worst hardware. They all have the worst hardware. We're not talking about how the Google's like super snappy compared to the smart TV stuff, which have the worst interfaces, the worst hardware support. They are the slowest response times. I mean, listen, consider you can buy a Google Chromecast for about $30. I highly recommend grabbing one of those, or the Roku stick or the Amazon Fire Stick, whatever. Just don't use the one built into your TV unless you have no other choice. Unless you have no other choice.
You're signed into all my apps, so I'm just using yours. It's all your data, not mine.
Why do I care? It's all Campea's data. All right, what's next?
Xbox or PlayStation personally.
PlayStation's a good one too. PlayStation, I'm sure Xbox has a good
PlayStation's
ecosphere now.
fine.
All right, what's next?
Al Rensha said 2 choices. Cavill in Man of Steel 2, directed by Spielberg, and in Black Adam 2, or Cavill cast as Bond. What do you pick?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm going to go Man of Steel 2 for that. I mean, I listen, I love the casting of him as Bond, but I think a lot of other people could play Bond very, very, very well. Mm-hmm. But he is my favorite Superman, so clearly I'm going to go with the Superman.
And he said Spielberg.
And you put the greatest filmmaker of all time in there. Greatest filmmaker of all time. I'll go with that one. All right, what's next?
Hero75 said Universal may want Disney to pay more for Hulu to help pay for that new Universal park in Florida. Use money from Disney to build a park to take money from Disney.
Listen, you never need an excuse to want to get as much money as you can.
No.
And again, good, fair play to them. There's nothing wrong with that. They're in business. It's like, okay, you want to buy our share out for $8.6 billion? We think it's worth $12.9 billion or $20.3. And they're just going to do whatever they can to bump up that price because they've done it to Disney before.
It is a funny idea, though, of like, oh, now we're going to do that. And oops, we have like Super Mario and no one's going to Disney for a second.
What? By the way, everybody's so excited about that new Mario Kart land opening up at Universal.
This one?
Yep.
They're actually doing something?
It's almost, the construction's
It's just
going to
be the Mario Kart ride. But oh my God, the footage from Japan, I did cry a little when I saw
that's
the
why
footage.
whenever we go to Universal Studios now, Anne dresses up in her Luigi costume just because she wants to
She
go
peek over the fence.
She just wants to peek. Yeah,
fence.
there's certain areas.
She's hoping someone will get confused and let her in. Like, oh, Luigi, right this way.
There are certain places you can go in Universal where you get a pretty good view of, and what they're building there looks pretty damn great.
That's gonna be
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, what's next?
Aiden Foley says, watch The Gray Man, not bad. I'd like to see a spinoff called Pink Man starring Aaron Paul.
Oh, I get it. Pink Man. Gray Man was okay. Gray Man was all right. I was disappointed with. I mean, who knew that you're going to put out this big action thriller? Because I think the Russo brothers were connected, were they not? Yeah, that is a Russo brothers movie.
They directed it,
and with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, and who would have thought that like literally a week after it was out, no one would be talking about it again. Again, I didn't think it was terrible, but it wasn't great. All right, what's next?
Andy said, if Comcast somehow fully obtains Hulu, would they keep that or Peacock as their main streaming service? Or both? I'd miss the Disney Plus and Hulu package.
My guess is I don't think they really want it. I think they're just trying to drive up the price for what Disney's going to have to pay to buy them out. But in a theoretical world, if they did get it, I don't think they would be buying it for the streaming service itself. I think they'd be buying it for the connected IP. Mm-hmm. And they'd then probably merge that IP. My guess would be they would want to merge that IP into Peacock. So that's that's so theoretical. It's way out there. All right, what's next?
Attack of the Mushi says, respect to Matt for finding another designer and leaving Melvin Potter in peace to spend time with Betsy. No more threatening from Kingpin, hopefully.
Yeah, of course, because Melvin in the Netflix show is the one who creates his costumes. Mm-hmm. That's who he makes his costumes. He does not get on a plane, fly to Los Angeles, and get somebody else to make his costume. Again, maybe that dude is going to be the Edna Mode of the MCU. Maybe. I mean, Spider-Man had to get his costumes from somewhere. Now that Tony Stark isn't around. What, too soon? All right, what's next?
Spoiler tab. Ben Rayner with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Ben. I'm loving She-Hulk. It's everything they promised. A half-hour episodic comedy. The humor is working for me, and it's a simple, funny show. One of the better MCU shows for me.
See, Ben, this is why when people ask me, like, why do you like She-Hulk? Because of that. It is designed and meant to be a simple half-hour comedy. And it's meant to be light and whatever. And all I ask of the show then is, okay, by the end of the show, was I entertained? Did I have a good time watching it?
If this was the only Marvel content we were getting in a year, I could understand being disappointed, but there's so much that things can be different things.
I agree.
That's my hot take.
Until episode 4,
can be different things.
Like episode 4, I was not entertained by. I didn't like it, even though I loved the ending thing with Madison. I was not entertained by that. But for the most part, when the episode ends, I feel like I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't love it. Maybe not thinking this is the next great thing. But so I'm in the same boat as you, Ben. I really am. All right. Thanks for writing that in, man. And thanks again for supporting us on that level, Ben. Really appreciate that, man. All right. What's next?
Al Rencha said, John, you can raise AMC A-List prices to $35. Adam Aaron, let's raise it to $40 and call it the Campea price.
Yeah, probably. It's like, if anybody have complaints, email John Campea. But again, I got to call what it is. Even if it was $40, if you are, like you were saying, Rob, an avid moviegoer and you're going to go to more than 2 movies a month, that still saves you money. That's still worth it.
Well, it's like the value of anything. How much does something mean to you? I mean, if you look at something like art, people pay millions and millions of dollars for certain paintings because they mean something to them. Movie going means a lot to me. And getting an AMC A-List pass. I mean, I don't now live in an area where there's an AMC theater close by. So I don't have any reason to have it. But if you do, they're great.
Yeah, it's great to have. All right, what's next?
Topher Spillers with the $20 super chat.
Thank you, Topher.
Hey, guys. With Marvel planning their future with the X-Men, do you think they'll finally cast Gambit? And why do you think they skipped over casting him for so long when he's clearly a fan favorite?
Because there's no Gambit movie and there's no X-Men.
But there's Gambit and Wolverine Origins, isn't there?
Yeah, it was Taylor Kitsch played him. But no, why did they? It's like saying, why haven't they cast Professor X yet? Because there's no X-Men movie yet. I mean, the bigger question, Topher, is why would they have cast him? Now, look, I am actually a little disappointed that the Gambit project that they were going to do under Fox with Channing Tatum, thank you. I'm actually a little bit disappointed because everybody hated on that at first. I felt like the Ben Affleck casting with Batman. When they announced Channing Tatum was going to be Gambit, everybody piled on and said, that's just stupid. And I'm like, whoa, time out for a second. I think this would actually work.
I'm with you.
And I think it would have been the next Batman thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I totally get why Now that Kevin Feige has it, he wants to do his own thing. They're going to use Gambit that way. But yeah, ultimately the reason they haven't cast Gambit is because there is nothing to cast Gambit in at this point. Once they do, let's put it this way, Rob. Tell me what you think of this. How would you respond to this statement? Within 2 years, maybe immediately or maybe within the 2 years, 24 months, that the X-Men actually arrive in the MCU, there will be a Gambit. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree.
Yeah, I think they'll go with Gambit. He's too popular for character. And he's fun. He's a fun character.
Plus, I mean, the whole Thieves Guild and all that
Yeah.
he's a part of, all that would be a great backstory.
Do you remember that fan film, that Gambit fan film that came out?
Yep.
That was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
For a fan film, that was great.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Raymond Verrata says Variety announced Manny Jacinto is in The Acolyte. Ooh, Filipino
Yep.
in Star Wars. Got to have your lumpia fried by lightsaber. I hope he has more screen time other than those 2 seconds on Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, again, more. I got a call when I was actually driving into the studio today by a friend of ours saying more casting for Acolyte. Why they never even once mentioned Acolyte at D23 is completely beyond me, but all the casting, they've got to be gearing up. They got to be getting ready to shoot this thing soon. While I was super excited about Rogue Squadron, my number one most excited thing for Star Wars that came out of that Disney Investors Days call was Acolyte. And that has not changed. They've been adding some tremendous talent to it.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very stoked for this project.
Delighted to hear he's getting work.
Yeah, and it's so good to hear he's getting work. All right. Kamustaka. All right, what's next?
Tim Platt said, John, an honest trailer on Pitch Meeting just dropped.
An honest trailer on Pitch Meeting?
Wow. It's like
That's
a combo
meta.
meal for you.
That's super meta. I'm guessing that's a joke, but if they did, that's very meta for them to do. All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave said, I would have loved a Sandman after show. Weekly rules.
Yeah, except, again, of course, you can't do an after show for
Right.
things that drop them all at once on Netflix, but I don't think Netflix is going to be doing that. Again, I think within 3 years, they're going to be going to a week-by-week release date, and then we can start actually doing some after shows for Netflix shows, which would be a lot of fun. All right, what's next?
Bond Presents said, if you've seen it, what's your opinion on the latest season of Westworld? It seems like the exact kind of sci-fi you'd like, Rob.
You know, people are saying that I have not watched this season of Westworld yet, but people have said it was really interesting. I just haven't caught up with it. I mean, I'm caught up to Westworld through season 3.
I tapped out after season 2.
Season 3 was a little iffy for me, but I've heard season 4 is good.
I didn't love season 1, and season 2 started off really strong. They went to, I think it was Samurai World. They were in there. I think it started off really strong, but then it dropped a lot for me. I don't even think I finished season 2. Like I tapped out probably, I think, somewhere around midpoint season 2.
I just haven't seen 4 yet, but I'm going to watch it.
All right, what's next?
Jedediah Elias said, not sure if you can say, but how does storytelling in Andor compare to Rogue One? Found the latter's plot stretched thin and too similar to A New Hope via Death Star plans.
I'm, like I said, while I had every right, because I'm not under embargo.
Don't do it, John.
Because I am not under embargo. I have chosen to honor the request that they asked that I not do that just because it was causing headaches for them. So I am more than happy to a little bit later give you all my thoughts. And believe me, I got tons of thoughts about Andor. And the only thing I will do or say is just, but that's it. That is the only thing. But we'll talk more about it later. All right, what's next?
Colin Z said, Timothy Chalamet said Leo DiCaprio said not to do superhero movies. In my opinion, that's very dumb advice.
Well, see, here's the thing, Colin. Who are you or me to say, oh yeah, that Academy Award winning actor who's maybe one of the big, if not the biggest star in the world right now? Yeah. I know better than him. I'm just saying, yeah. So apparently Timothy Chalamet, for those of you guys who missed what he said, Timothy Chalamet said he had talked to Leo DiCaprio because Timothy Chalamet is kind of he's the new version. He's like Leo DiCaprio 2.0.
Yeah.
He is where Leo was 20 years ago, really. But he said he talked to Leo DiCaprio and he said the two biggest pieces of advice he got was don't do any hard drugs and don't do comic book movies. Now, that wasn't Leo. I don't believe that was Leo DiCaprio saying comic book movie shock. I don't think that's what he was saying.
Nope.
But here's the reality. Robert Downey Jr., although comic book movies saved his career, what has he really been able to do outside of the MCU? I mean, I like his Sherlock Holmes films, and I like The Judge, but not a lot of people. Chris
Dr.
Hemsworth,
Doolittle?
Dr. Doolittle, Chris Hemsworth has not had a ton of big success outside of the MCU. I mean, it could, there's something factual there. Again, this wasn't, I did not take this at all that Leonardo DiCaprio was criticizing the genre.
Yeah.
I just think maybe he feels that if you at that age right now go into a comic book movie, because look, honestly, right now, it doesn't matter how many more years passed. Whenever we look at Robert Downey Jr., we're going to see Tony Stark. I mean, fair or unfair, we just are.
I think, John, and you just nailed on what that advice is all about. Leonardo DiCaprio was not making a value judgment on superhero movies, but what he was trying to do is he said, look, if you do a superhero movie, suddenly there's somebody people point at and go, oh, that's this person. But Leonardo DiCaprio can play anybody from Howard Hughes to Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. There's a wide variety of
Monsieur
characters.
Kendi.
Absolutely. And so people look at Leonardo DiCaprio and suddenly he can be in 10 different kinds of movies. Whereas, Hollywood likes to pigeonhole. Let's get that guy or let's get that girl. And everybody gets pigeonholed. And what his advice is, don't allow yourself to do that.
I would say, especially right now, I can understand that advice for him. He's so in this like it boy phase of his career where it really is, you can kind of be doing whatever you want. And he's absolutely an actor. I could see within the next couple of years getting that role that's his big Oscar bait, like, wow, this kid's a serious actor, and catapult him into a, more mature phase of his career. So if he's filling that time with superhero movies, not that that would be a terrible choice. Obviously the money's great and people are doing great work in these movies, but that is potentially cutting yourself off from taking a different path in your career.
Plus, he was smart. He took Dune. It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
superhero movie, but it's a very famous literary science fiction movie, big budget sci-fi thing, working with a great director, all these great technical people, and he's still looked at as being, we can get him to star in our next literary property.
Because Harrison Ford is a very rare exception to the rule. Because Harrison Ford was able to do Star Wars and he was able to do tons of other things. But what happened to Carrie Fisher? I mean, Carrie Fisher did stuff, but
Or Mark Hamill.
or Mark Hamill, who has done some good stuff, but was never able to really escape that. Harrison Ford was able to do that, but I think that's the rare exception. And obviously, I think Timothée Chalamet has the talent level that he could as well. But the advice was probably fairly sound advice.
Yes.
Saying, look, at this stage of your career, because right now Timothée Chalamet is kind of the chosen one. He's the next one that's been prophesied, basically. I think he's the next coming of Daniel Day-Lewis.
If his name was spelled with a Y, he'd have no power, and I'll die on that hill. If his name was Tim Chalamet, we wouldn't give a shit.
He'd be selling insurance.
Exactly.
This is my insurance agent, Tim Chalamet.
But I honestly, I don't think for where Timothée Chalamet is right now, I don't necessarily think that was bad. Would I love to see him in a comic book movie? Absolutely. But was that bad advice?
No.
I don't know that it was.
No, and I took that too when I was looking that over, that it was purely just like at this stage in your career.
Yeah, don't do it. All right, what's next?
Suthia said we better talk about Pug's shoe collection in the after show.
Well, unfortunately, there won't be an after show, but I do like, you know what? Taylor was showing me the sketch from the credits. Like in the background, he's standing there in his shoe closet.
I cleared.
And in the closet, you can see Ben Grimm Thing shoes. You can see, obviously, the Iron Man shoes. You see a Deadpool shoe. You see, there were a couple.
There was a Cyclops pair of shoes.
There's a Cyclops shoes in there. Like they throw these little Easter eggs in there, pretty cool.
I love those little end credit, like
They're great.
the
I do
courtroom
too.
sketches of everybody.
Yeah.
Such a fun little gimmick. And I missed the wall breaks. I feel like those are the little gimmicks that really are winning me over on this show. And I feel like we didn't get enough.
I almost
of
feel like they need to lean more into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jay says, hi guys, Rob and Amy last week, y'all said you did not like the dating scenes from last week's She-Hulk episode. Now seeing how the dating scene played a role in this episode, how do you feel about it now? Like I said, I thought the writing was stronger. It felt more specific and just funnier to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the dating episode was a good setup. I think the show could be more clever overall in terms of its writing. I wish the show was a little bit more clever.
Yeah.
Just more Ally McBeal.
I I did like the dating scene. I like the scene. I didn't like the episode overall, but I like the scene.
I just wish it was not so on the nose.
But it felt very real. As somebody who did the online dating thing for a period in my life, it felt very honest. It felt very real, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Anubis Genocide said, "Hi, John and crew. I'm a little worried about the Netflix live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender because I feel very burned by their live action Cowboy Bebop."
I mean, look, and that's, is there a part 2 to that? No. Okay. I get that. I do. I totally get that. But the reality is their overall track record with their series, their original series that they do, is exceptionally good.
Here's my biggest concern about it. We have a pretty perfect Avatar series. It exists.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with it in a live action format that makes this need to exist?
Well, here's the reality. There are still a lot of people who've never watched that animated show and never will. I mean, that's just the truth. There's a lot of people who've never watched it and never will. I honestly, and this is to my shame, but had it not been for the pandemic, I probably never would have watched it. It looks like a little children's show. It does look, and in some ways it is written as a children's show in some ways. So I think you do this live action because you want to capture it in a different way. It's in a different medium. They're going to do some adaptation to it, obviously, which is perfectly fine. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. But again, I would say, number one, look at the overall track record. But number two, this is a completely different creative team than the one that did Cowboy Bebop. Like if it was the same writers and the same director and the same producers and the same showrunners, if it was all that, then maybe as Cowboy Bebop, maybe there'd be more there to be nervous about. But it's a completely different creative team.
Agreed.
All right, what's next?
Andy says, "I want to dance off between is it Bully Maguire, Zemo, and Matt Smith from Morbius."
I mean, throw She-Hulk in there with Megan Thee Stallion, and I'm all for it.
And Star-Lord.
I was going to say Star-Lord.
Oh yeah, don't forget Star-Lord. The Star-Lord. So one of the best moments in Guardians is simply when Ronan the Accuser is just like dumbfounded. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Like the way James Gunn directed that shot with the reaction from Ronan, it's like, okay, that's really funny the way they did that. All right, what's next?
Henry Toloza said, "I'm hearing no hype for Black Adam."
I'll be honest with you. I'm not hearing a lot of hype for it either. And again, I'll go back to the latest trailer that came out. That latest trailer would have been a fabulous first trailer. But we've now had 3. They say 2, but really it's 3. They've had 3 now, and what's this movie even about? Like, and then I get these people go, well, Campea, why do they have to tell you everything about the movie? I don't want them to tell us everything about the movie. Just tell me what the movie's about.
Yeah.
There's a difference. There's telling you nothing, and there's giving everything away, and then there's 50 Shades of Grey in the middle there. Just tell us what the movie.
You might have been watching the wrong trailer.
Yeah, maybe
That was a trailer for 50 Shades of Grey.
that would have been okay too.
Look, and for me, this is a movie that I should love. As a lifelong DC fan, I've loved Captain Marvel. I love the Marvel, Marvel family. I grew up reading all that stuff, all the way into Kingdom Come. Don't care, to be honest, John. I mean, I'll see Black Adam. It looks cool, but what is it going to add to my life? What story are they going to tell that by the end, when I walk out of that movie, go, wow, that was kick-ass?
Well, I mean, maybe there's tons of it in there. The trailers just haven't told us that.
Right.
But listen, as long as it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I have a certain level of excitement for it. That's the bare. As long as Dwayne's in there's a certain level of excitement. My excitement won't drop below.
But is it gonna start, encroaching on, like, are all the people who are kind of going, I'm getting a little burned out on superheroes, are they gonna go see it?
Well, are they going to go to see any comic book movie coming out?
If it looks unique and interesting,
yeah,
maybe.
right now they're not making this look unique.
No, and it also looks like this. It looks to me like this is the tipping point for superhero burnout. It's this movie that Dwayne Johnson wanted to get made for a decade. He got it made, and it's not necessarily. I mean, it is connected because Amanda Waller's in it. How does it relate to the rest of the DC universe? What's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson doing in this movie? What's happening? What does he want as a character? I don't know what his deal is. That's what I think I don't know. Like, I understand what Indiana Jones does. I understand what Superman does. I understand what Batman does. What does Black Adam do?
Well, what cures everything?
Winning.
If we go see this movie and it's great, a lot of those problems will take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. It's going to be great. But yeah, to your point right now, I agree. I'm not sensing a lot of excitement from the fan base right now. So maybe they can turn that around. They still got time.
Is it weird? Is it weird that I'm more excited to see Pierce Brosnan in this than The Rock?
I might agree.
I totally agree because I love Doctor Fate.
Yeah, I just love him. I love Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
But I'm always excited for The Rock. All right, what's next?
Aaron McDonough said, "Hey John, have you seen Barbarian yet?"
No, I listen. I got invited to go see it long before it came out. Couldn't go see it, and then the weekend that it came out, I had 18 different things going on. Couldn't go see it, and now it's kind of, it's too late to review it. And so
It's worth a watch.
I am looking forward to watching it, but like from a professional point of view, like it's far too late to review it now and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do want to see it very.
Do you
badly.
think that it has the potential to be #1 again this weekend at the box office?
You know, I didn't even
with word
look.
of mouth.
I got to see. I don't know what's coming out this week. I got
A lot of stuff is.
You want
but
to
a
hear
lot
what I
of
have tickets to this weekend? I have tickets to Pearl. I have tickets to The Woman King, and I have tickets to See How They Run all this weekend. So
The Woman King's probably going to be #1.
I
Yeah.
hope so. Yeah. That one I'm really excited about. All right, what's next?
Jay said, "I know this may be on the spot, but try to take a stab at it. What is the top catchphrase from a show or movie can you think of that has become part?"
I got part 2 up here.
Of the zeitgeist in the last 10 years, like how you couldn't go 5 feet without hearing someone say, "I'll be back," or "That's what she said."
I was about to say I'll be back. I mean, that's probably
10 years?
Well, yeah, in the last 10 years.
in the last 10
Yeah.
years. Oh, I don't know. I that's honestly something I can't think of.
Oh no, my view of time is so warped. I was like, Mean Girls. Oh no.
I can do this all day. So,
That's not bad. Yeah. I love you. What's
I
the
love
number?
you 3000.
I love you 3000, but that hasn't really caught on in the zeitgeist. I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like there's some I'm missing.
I could do this all day might be it.
What's the line that Paul Rudd says? And I love you, man.
Says I love you, man.
No,
There's like a 50 different things that catch you on the man,
It's the one that I always hear. Right? Just keep forgetting.
I feel like they're like slapping the bass.
Okay,
I love
now,
you.
or
Yeah.
I'll catch you another time. But again,
What's up, Joe?
more than 10 years.
Wow.
Sort of
Yeah.
age you again, but it's more than 10 years.
Hey,
Wow.
stop that.
I mean,
Because a lot
I
of
don't know.
movies don't use catchphrases like that anymore. That was of an era.
No,
you
but
know?
I could do this all day. I think that might be it. But again, if we actually had time to think about it, maybe we'd come with something else. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher said, She-Hulk was better than last week, but not as good as episode 3. I can almost guarantee we are getting Daredevil next week.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would be shocked. I mean, with the ending of the episode, I mean, clearly next episode is going to be She-Hulk. I mean, it's going to be Daredevil. I mean, absolutely. And how are people going to feel about it?
Especially when it turns out to be short-eared Batman.
Short-eared Batman. Though I watched this, they totally make it now that
twist.
Matt Murdock can totally see in this one. Like they totally change it. He's not blind at all. He can totally see in this version of it.
Can you imagine if they really wanted to break the internet and in that episode it was Wolverine's mask?
Oh my God. And they listen, if they go through that, I forget the character's name, so I just call him Edna Mode. If they actually go through and there's like a Wolverine mask hanging on a wall or something like that, that would be pretty cool. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should go back and go through that scene.
I feel like someone would have found it already, though.
You know, maybe, but now I want to go back and actually look and pay real close attention. All right, what's next?
Xander says, with Daniel Cretton directing Kang Dynasty, will he still direct Shang-Chi too?
That's a very good question because I guarantee you he's already working on Kang Dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on, like, it also depends on what is their plan for Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi could be popping up in, like, he could play something like a Black Widow role where he could pop up in, like, 3 of the upcoming Marvel movies, but not have his own Shang-Chi 2 until maybe after. I mean, that's a good question, though.
Did they show that in the slate that they revealed?
Shang-Chi 2?
Yeah,
No.
that logo or
No.
anything at
I
all?
don't believe
guessing
Shang-Chi 2
I'm
showed
guessing
it.
that's phase 6 then.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be it could be in, you know, somewhere dancing around those Avengers films. So I'm gonna guess we're not gonna get a Shang-Chi until after these Avengers films, but we'll see him pop up, including I think we're gonna see Shang-Chi in both of those Avengers movies.
yeah, we're gonna see him.
We're definitely gonna see him in there, and he might even pop up in another one of the movies beforehand. But My guess is, just a guess, he will direct Shang-Chi 2, but that won't be until after Avengers. I don't know. What do you think?
I think probably so.
Okay.
I think you're right. Because they, like you said, they haven't announced it, and you're looking at 2 years out for these films, and these Avengers movies are 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, well, maybe, but I doubt it.
By the way, when I'm driving to the office, almost, not every day, but almost every day, at least one of the, I've got about 3 songs worth I can hear on my drive from home to here, because it's a pretty short drive.
Must be nice.
3 to 4, 3 to 4 days a week in that drive. Run It by DJ Snake. I play. That's the music that plays during the bus fight scene in Shang-Chi. I play that song at least 3 times a week as I'm driving to the office. I love that song. All right, what's next?
Andy said when Thor threw Stormbreaker at Thanos in Infinity War, but didn't go for the head, Zaslav was watching that and thought, fucking amateur.
I'll show you how to do it. Thump. I mean, yeah, it is funny. You know what? It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day because of the Mandalorian trailer that dropped. I love finding these little moments in movies, these almost inconsequential things. An inch this, a second that, a leader of this changes everything, right? Because, yeah, you go back to that. If Thor had hit him just 3 inches higher, then Infinity War ends, the good guys win, there's no end game, all that kind of stuff. But the Mandalorian trailer, it re-brought up the biggest one in history for me. The little consequence that totally changed everything in a franchise.
Jar Jar Binks.
R5. R5, who is in the trailer for Mandalorian Season 3. He is the red R2 unit.
R5D4.
And R5, if you go back to the original Star Wars, when the Jawas show up and they're showing off the droids they have for sale to Luke and Owen, Owen picks R5. So that one, the red one. So R5, and they didn't pick R2. That's it. And then R5's got a bad motivator. The motivator blows. And they go, okay, well, what about that one? R2. Had R5's motivator not blown, all of Star Wars changes. The entire franchise is different if that one little thing happened. I love finding those little moments in movies.
Hey,
like
what are you
that.
trying to push on us?
Yeah, what are you trying to push on us? Yeah, it was. It was a powerful moment. All right, what's next?
Alan Jara 91 said, what would you like next after the multiverse saga?
Don't care. My whole philosophy when it comes to what are they going to do next in this or this is, hey, just show me what you got. I don't lay out, I want them to do this or I want them to do that. I just try to take the attitude of, I'm just going to sit here as a fan and go, I can't wait to show what you've got me.
Yeah.
You know, what about you? Do you got anything specific you want to see after multiverse?
X-Men versus Avengers.
Or just X-Men?
Or just X-Men.
It's just X-Men would be nice. X-Men versus Avengers. Do you have anything in particular you want?
Yeah, I guess X-Men, but yeah, I'm pretty open to whatever direction they want to take it.
All right, what's next?
Peter Cunnington said, can we send She-Hulk spoilers in the open mic later?
You know what? I'm going to give all you guys a heads up right now, just because really I don't think there's anything that you can really even call a spoiler in that episode. I'm going to say yes. We'll warn people at the beginning of open mic that if you have a spoiler discussion question for She-Hulk, you'll be able to bring that up in the She-Hulk or in the open mic later, and we will let people know at the beginning of that show that that's going to be the case. All right, what's next?
Do we call out Irene?
Oh,
Just
Irene Jobson sent in $1 super chat.
Thank you, Irene.
Sam, thank you. Sam Fisher said, I honestly thought and was kind of hoping that the guy who makes the super suits was going to be the MCU's Melvin Potter, who made Daredevil suit in Daredevil.
Very different character. I don't know. There is a single way you could make that character more completely opposite. But if they suddenly said his real name was Melvin, that would be funny. But yeah. All right, what's next?
Raymond Verrata said, anyone read Alex Ross's Fantastic Four graphic novel?
I just got it. Actually, I got it last week, and I have not read it yet. But
Is this a new one?
Yes, and it is beautiful. But I have not read it.
Is
It's
it
sitting right next to.
Is it like
It's an oversized hardcover.
Ooh, and it's
Yeah,
new?
It's brand new.
Okay. Is it a new origin story? Is it just a story?
I don't know anything about it other than Alex Ross painted it, and I just got it, and it's still, I haven't even opened it up.
Oh my God. Okay. You're gonna have to bring that. You know what? Bring that in for Weekly Hero. I want to see it.
I will do that.
All right.
That's
All right.
yes.
What's next?
Hoopsuni says, what is the most recent movie that you guys have put in your top 10 or 15 of all time? Mine is Knives Out. I absolutely love that movie.
Ooh.
That's a good question.
I don't know. Okay, I can't say for top 15, but I'll just go with the top 10. I think the most modern movie in my top 10 is Lord of the Rings. I honestly don't think I've put another one in there because I look back at some of the ones that are in my top 10. Obviously, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Shawshank Redemption, Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence of Arabia, Godfather. Yeah, I think Lord of the Rings, like 20 plus years, is the most recent one I put in my top 10. What about you?
Amelie. And that's
the most recent
2001.
one? Yeah, so that's over 20 years ago now.
Mine is The Godfather.
The most
Because you just
recent?
watched it.
Because I just watched it.
Okay, I thought
Well,
you were saying,
not-
so really all your other top 10 are prior to 1977 or
No, The
whenever
Martian,
God-
for real. The Martian.
Oh yeah, that's right. You
Oh,
love
you know,
The Martian.
well,
That's
Martian's
like
great.
almost my number one, I think.
That movie is so good,
I love it.
especially
All right.
the extended version.
What's next?
Sam Fisher said, I really think Titania's being underutilized. This is only the second time we've seen her. I thought she would be a bigger presence.
You know what's funny? Here's the thing. I know when this show started, like a bunch of people were like, all the men are dumb in this show. I'm like, all the characters are dumb because Madison, and now you got Titania, and it's like they're this show hates men. No. They're treating all like Jennifer lives in this world where like everybody but her bestie is like kind of a boob all around them, right? It's not just men, it's the women, it's
Magicians.
and the magicians. It's all that.
Yes, the third gender.
It's all of them. It's all of them. All right, what's next?
I just don't understand how she got away with destroying a courtroom, though. I'm a little confused. They could have had an ankle, like,
No,
bracelet on
remember
her.
they explained it in the show.
What
they-
point? I
they-
saw everyone saying, like, oh, free Titania, but no.
No. They actually said you saw it in one of the news things that Titania's lawyer argued that that was something about that she ingested, that it was like a something deficit or whatever caused her momentarily to whatever. So they actually did explain it in the
I
show.
see.
All right, what's next?
Lars Levison said Edge Runners was pretty good, and it felt like it was right out of the world of cyberpunk.
That animated in
Yeah.
Netflix.
Oh, the one that everybody keeps
everyone
bringing up.
You know what? I'm going to watch the first episode sometime.
Yeah, I
after
got to watch that
Morbius.
now too. Everybody's bringing it up and saying such good things about it. I think I'm going to have to check it out at some point. All right, what's next?
Here's our last.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Said, I really want to watch Blade Runner 2049, but I think I don't have the time to watch all 2048 movies before to understand the plot.
Yeah, it is a
Okay,
commitment.
you know what? You know what? I'll give you that one.
That's
I'll,
the shot of the day.
That's not bad. That one's not bad. I will say this though. One of the interesting things about Blade Runner 2049 is I know a lot of people who saw that movie that never saw the original Blade Runner, and they did not feel lost.
Right.
I mean, I think you'll have it. That is one of the great things. Denis Villeneuve did such a great job making that movie. It is a fantastic movie. And one of the things that's great about it is that you don't have to see the original, but like a lot of other things, if you do watch the original, you'll probably get a little bit more depth out of it. All right, guys.
so
And
funny.
that'll do it for today's
God.
installment of the John Campea Show. Thank
it
you
in.
so much for being here and making this show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. All right, calling a little bit of an audible right now because we got the show today started late. The open mic today is going to start a little bit late. So instead of starting at 3 o'clock, we're actually going to start it at 3:30 p.m. So once again, that is open mic today here on the channel at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in lieu of a She-Hulk after show because there's just not a lot to talk about as far as the She-Hulk episode this week. So hopefully you guys will come back and we'll see you then. So for everybody in the room right now, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, we got Amy Newman. Of course, over there joining you guys in the chat was Ray Ora.
Dying.
That last joke was pretty good.
Ray's still cracking up on it. And beside Ray, of course, we have producer running the show here today, Jonathan Boyko.
I mean, it was okay. The
It was
joke
all right. My name's John Campea, guys. That'll do it for us for now. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
Thought you were going to say Bob Iger.
Bob Iger. I totally